I'd like to call the McLeod County Board of Commissioners, March 17th, 2026 meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good morning, everyone. We will start with the consideration of agenda items.
No changes, Mr. Chair.
I'll move agenda, Mr. Chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Smalls to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Consent agenda.
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Cheska. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We'll start with Prime West Health. Jim, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Matt Magnuson. I'm the incoming CEO at Prime West Health. Jim Prisbillo is not able to
Excuse
make
me.
it today. Nope, that's fine. So after 25 years, Jim has decided to step away. So June 1st, the board has elected me as the new CEO of Prime West Health. Again, my name is Matt Magnuson. I've been with Prime West for almost 19 years now. So a long history with Prime West. I have a presentation today, but it's really just set up to be a guide. So if you guys have questions as we walk through this, please feel free to jump in and ask any questions you have. The first few slides are just going to kind of go through a history of the health plan that the county owns. So we'll just talk quickly about Prime West Health here quick. So first of all, what is Prime West Health? We're a county joint powers organization, and we're specifically in the healthcare. We're a health insurance plan. So think of Blue Cross Blue Shield or Health Partners. We're a health insurance plan just like one of those. Our difference is that we are owned by 24 counties. Our governing board is county commissioners, so there's a primary and alternate from each one of the 24 counties that own Prime West. There's our governing board right there, 2 county commissioners from each county. There's our corporate office in Alexandria, Minnesota. So again, we're a health insurance plan. There's 2 types of health insurance plans in the country today. There's the public insurance space and the private insurance space. When you think about the private insurance, that's employer-based plans. Prime West Health lives in the public insurance space. Our premiums, our capitation payments are made by the federal and the state government. So we cover our low income and vulnerable residents within our 24 counties. Again, we have 5 primary contracts that we work. Medical assistance there is our biggest program. Today we serve about 75,000 members, and that'll come up here in another slide. And about 60,000 of those members are in that medical assistance program. That's families and children. The second one there is Minnesota Care. That's a plan that's available for people that maybe work for a small employer, have a little bit of income, they don't qualify for Medicaid, they can pay a premium to the state and enroll in that plan. Minnesota Senior Health Options is a plan for dual eligible seniors. So seniors that have both Medicaid and Medicare can get their coverage through Prime West. It helps them integrate those plans. Number 4 there, Minnesota Senior Care Plus, again, is another senior plan. The difference in that plan is members only have Medicaid with Prime West. Their Medicare they have somewhere else. And then the last program on there is called Special Needs Basic Care. That's for members with disabilities between the ages of 18 and 64. Just wanted to highlight this as fraud has been talked about for so long and so often now in the media. The left-hand side there is the DHS fee-for-service. So in the state of Minnesota, there's 2 ways that public programs is delivered. The DHS fee-for-service basically means the state issues an ID card to members. Providers bill the state directly for all those services. About 17% of all of the enrollees in Minnesota today are in that DHS fee-for-service system. A lot of the fraud you've been hearing about is in that DHS fee-for-service system. 83% of all of the enrollees are in managed care plans. The idea behind the cockpit here is to show the difference between what DHS requires of themselves and what they require of health plans that they work with. We have to do a lot of additional things to make sure that we're protecting this important resource that DHS themselves doesn't hold themselves to. So that's the idea behind the idea when you look at this cockpit here. Again, managed care is what we are. So basically we're provided a capitation payment, and then we're responsible to pay for all of the healthcare services for the members that we serve. So if for instance, if we get a capitation payment for a member that's $500 per month and they come in and have $100,000 worth of claims that first month, we're responsible to pay all $100,000 worth of claims even though we only collected $500. That's the risk relationship that the state has with managed care organizations. They basically transferred that risk over. And so again, when we talk about fraud, the important part for us is we're a risk-based entity, so we're always watching for those things. We want to be on top of any potential fraud that's in there because we're at risk for those dollars. Different than the DHS fee-for-service system. They can just continue to pay and pay and pay. There's two types of managed care in the state. The top one up there is the traditional. That's what the state has historically done. The state went out and contracted with a big managed care organization or an HMO. And then that HMO decided what local providers they were going to have in the network, how they were going to treat the members, how they were going to work with the community. In the county-based purchasing model, what the county started is the idea is that the state contracts directly back with the community, and now the community's responsible for how that care is delivered locally. I have some slides coming up. We'll talk about how big this resource is locally and why it's so important that the counties maintain control of this resource. Again, county-based purchasing, that's the name of our statute in law. It's kind of a weird thing. Every time I talk to anybody and we say we're in county-based purchasing, people assume we're out buying road graders and other things as a county, but really in this case, county-based purchasing in this sense is really about county-owned, and we're purchasing health care is what the county-based purchasing statute is all about. Here's our 24 county service area. We've had a lot of growth over time. So in 1998, Prime West originally began, it was just 10 counties, and we served about 5,000 members. I have some slides come up here. In 2007, we expanded up to the 3 northern counties, Beltrami, Clearwater, and Hubbard. And then in 2019, we added 11 additional counties to Prime West, basically completing the bottom part of that map there with the exception of those 2 counties in the southwest portion of the state. Where does our revenue come from? That big purple in the middle there is our primary revenue, and the majority of it comes from the state. So it's DHS, Medicaid, and Minnesota Care funding, almost $419 million of our 2025 revenue came from the state of Minnesota. The next large slice there is the orange. That is the federal share, so those members that have Medicare with Prime West. About $71 million comes from that. The little yellow slice there is third-party administrative services. So Prime West, as a county-based purchaser, there's 2 other county-based purchasing entities in the state of Minnesota, and we are the only one that's a fully operational health plan. We have our own call center and customer service and claims administration, and we provide TPA services for those other county-based purchasers in the state of Minnesota. The last little sliver there is just interest, investments, and non-operating. But you can see the vast majority of our revenue there comes from the state or the federal government. Again, I talked a little bit about the programs that we have. So we have 5 contracts. They're all risk-bearing contracts again. So ultimately, when counties got into county-based purchasing back in the day, you were assuming the risk. If for some reason Prime West couldn't cover all of its expenses, the county is ultimately behind us to support our operations. Now, that said, we've never had to come to counties to ask for any additional revenue to support our operations. We keep a healthy reserve. Our board makes sure of that. We'll talk a little bit about those reserve numbers here in a little bit so that we never have to come back and ask the county to cover any shortfalls at Prime West Health. Again, risk-based contract. The bottom 2 bullets there are the important part. If our expenses exceed our per member per month revenue, then we need to use our reserves to cover those shortfalls. If our expenses are less than our per member per month, that's PMPM revenues, then Prime West keeps those surpluses. And our owner counties get to decide what we use that resource for. I have some slides coming up that demonstrate kind of some of that stuff that we've used those resources at Prime West for. Our core responsibility is to pay for healthcare services for all of our members. So the state of Minnesota, they set the benefit. They say, here's all the services you need to cover for all these members that you're gonna take care of. We have to, at a minimum, cover those services, but we can always add additional services and cover additional things if we want to. But our goal is to pay all of our claims, cover all those services, and we provide timely and accurate claims payments to our local providers. One of the things that we try to do at Prime West is there's a lot of small rural providers and cash flow really becomes an issue. We turn around our claims very quickly. So from the time a member goes in, sees the provider bills us for that. On average, those claims are turning around in about 7 days, getting that cash back out to those local providers. Just a quick look at our balance sheet. Again, where does all this money, we had some big revenue dollars in there. This is November of 2025. This will look a lot different in 26, and I'll explain that here in a little bit. But the top part there is expenses. So of all of the dollars that we collect, about 93% of it goes directly back out to healthcare providers. So you can see in November there, our total healthcare expenses were around $40 million. So about 93% of all the premium we collect goes directly back out to providers in our local communities. And then there's the bottom section there is our non-operating revenue. And we operate around 6-7% operating expenses. In 2026, the budget that was just approved by the board is actually a 5% operating expense. So we try to be as efficient as we can, make sure those dollars are staying back in the communities, going to the places they need to go. This is a slide, and I won't read through all these, but these are some of the things that Prime West needs to do. We need to make sure we have geographic and economic access. It's very important in rural areas. In the late 90s, when county-based purchasing started, it was rural counties, and the reason that we all got into this, they were concerned that big metro-based health plans were gonna come to rural areas and maybe not contract with all the local providers that were available. In Prime West model, any provider that's located within our counties that's qualified and eligible to contract with us, we contract with them. We want to make sure that we keep these local providers here. We all choose to live in rural communities. It's important that we protect that rural healthcare infrastructure. Again, here's just the other county-based purchasers. So you can see up at the top next to Beltram and Clearwater Harbor up there, there's a single county entity doing that. It's Itasca Medical Care. And down in the southeast part of the state, there's another organization, county-based purchaser, that's 7 counties called South Country Health Alliance. And we do the TPA services for those other county-based purchasers. Yes.
Matt, I've got a question, Mr. Chair, if I may. Is there a possibility of us increasing our footprint in the state of Minnesota? We say we're 24 counties, and South Country Alliance is running along with Itasca. Is there a chance, or is there a request out there that we need to be looking at in the future?
Great question. Again, it comes back to our board to see how big do we want Prime West to be. We're already 24 counties. I think there's a potential maybe for some of those ones that are in between there where you can see the blank spots if they wanted to look at joining. But really what we're trying to do is maybe encourage other counties or groups of counties to do this, and we can be their administrative services provider for them, so that Prime West doesn't necessarily have to grow beyond 24 counties or 25 counties. You know, that's a pretty big board already. And again, how do we make sure that we maintain that local presence? Our idea here is to be, how do we maintain a local presence? And the bigger we get, I think we kind of move away from that a little bit. So my goal would be that Prime West maybe doesn't grow as much as adding counties, but supporting other organizations that can do this. Because it is a good model for rural Minnesota. I believe there's a lot of other counties that are interested, but how can we help them either join one of the other ones or start their own new county-based purchaser?
Very good. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Matt, just in addition, what you just said is why county-based purchasing is so important. I mean, you've been in a fight to keep that, so I just wanted to accent that. That's from what you just said for our local insurer. I mean, to keep that available is very, very important.
Yeah, it's a very important resource. When we look at the numbers on here, so in 2026 now, we have 75,000 members that we serve across those 24 counties. That's getting to be pretty big. When I look at any one county, it's somewhere between 20 and 25% of the entire county population that'll be served by Prime West. We were successful in winning the lawsuit that we've been working on for years now, where we are the single plan again for that biggest program, Families and Children's Program. And so, you know, 1 out of every 4 residents of the county is gonna be touched by Prime West Health. So it's a pretty big footprint. You're serving a lot of vulnerable people within your communities. This comes directly from our strategic plan. Some of the reasons county commissioners, when they talk about why do counties do county-based purchasing, again, I won't read through all these, but just to highlight some of them, again, help and support local healthcare and human services infrastructure. We do a lot of work in that. We've built dental clinics over time. We've built mental health facilities. We've purchased many, many buses to improve rural transportation. You know, it's all those little things that we can do as a bigger organization to make sure that our local healthcare infrastructure continues to be sustainable and hopefully can grow and better serve our members. A big reason why counties do county-based purchasing, this is our community reinvestment. So what this slide is, I'm gonna walk through just a couple different portions of this. At the very top right up there is direct community reinvestment grants. So when our surplus gets to a certain level, we sit down with our board and our actuaries and we'll release certain dollars back to the community for community grants. You can see we've done over 230 grants to different organizations, and over $26 million went back out to our local communities to help support that healthcare infrastructure. The big total there is that payments above fee-for-service. So I talked about there's 2 models in the state that the state operates. There's the DHS fee-for-service. They set a payment rate. And in Prime West, within our counties, we try to reimburse our providers above that minimum DHS fee-for-service rate. And so that total has been over $205 million that our providers here locally have gotten over and above what they would have had under the traditional DHS fee-for-service system. Again, just an important benefit that we control locally to make sure that those dollars stay here, stay within our communities, keep working to improve our rural healthcare infrastructure. I've talked a little bit about the programs already, so I won't go through here, but you know, these are the members that are eligible. Again, that Families and Children's Program, we talked about that. Members are 0 to 64, the seniors and people with disabilities. Enrollment is an interesting thing. We don't do any enrollment directly at Prime West. If a member wants to enroll, they come either to the county, they work with your financial services department, or they can go through the state MNsure system. So members do not come to Prime West directly to enroll. We don't have insurance salespeople or anything like that. These are public programs, so they either enroll at the county or they enroll through the MNsure system. And then what happens is the state gives us a file basically at the beginning of every month that says, in March, here's the members that are be eligible at Prime West, here's who you're gonna cover. And they'll send us a new file at the end of March and say, here's your members in April that you're gonna cover. So all of that enrollment and eligibility is not determined by Prime West, but by the counties or the state. Just a quick history of county-based purchasing in Prime West. Again, it started in the late 90s. That CBP, county-based purchasing legislation, was initially passed in 96-97 legislative session. In 1998, the original 10 counties formed Prime West. In 2002, we were finally approved to serve members, and in 2003, we began with 1 program and 5,000 members. You can see the right-hand side there, the additional growth, but now in 26, the big point there is we're now 24 counties and over 75,000 members served this year. So a lot of growth over time in Prime West, and it's just because counties have seen the benefit of what it means to have to control this resource locally. a quick look at our organizational chart here. So the board of directors, again, that's one county commissioner, primary and alternate. They hire the chief executive officer. We work through department directors and a manager level, so we maintain a very flat organization. We're very responsive to what's happening locally. When we identify things like fraud, we had some significant transportation fraud a few years ago. I know that that's been a question that this board has looked at. And we identified it within 2 months, shut down all of those services, and now are going back after those providers through the legal process, which takes a long time, but to try and claw back some of those dollars that went out. So it's not a 18-month or 2-year process where we're looking at something. We see it, we identify it, we shut the door down, and then we go after to try and recollect those dollars. Just again, some Prime West vital statistics. Again, 24 counties. Our net worth today is about 124 million. So when we talk about that reserve, that's the protection that the counties have, that we're never coming back after those county dollars. There's some minimums that the state requires that a health plan keep in reserves. And if you looked at what happened to UCare this last year, they blew through some reserves relatively quickly. We make sure that we don't do that. We have actuaries that are watching that on a regular basis, but that 124 million is what sits there, and as that grows, then we release some of that back to the community for those community reinvestment grants, or to add an additional service, or to pay a new provider a higher rate. Our projected annual revenue for this year is about $751 million. Again, just highlighting how much of a resource this is locally, and how important it is that the counties maintain control of this. Over 17,000 contracted providers. We process about 1.4 million claims a year. We do that all with about 185 employees in the Alexandria, and we have some remote and hybrid employees. Our administrative expense ratio, I talked a little bit about that, is about 7% this year. It's going to be closer to the 5% range. And we've done over 26 million in grants. One thing I just want to highlight about Prime West and what makes us different, and this has come up a lot, is our customer service, for instance. We originally got into the claims administration because we wanted to take our customer service back in-house. So as far as I know, we're still the only health plan in the state that when you call the customer service number on the back of your card, there's no IVR system. You don't have to push 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to find out where you're going to go. Your call's answered by a live person. Our statistics from the end of 2025, it took about 17 seconds to reach a live agent. I would challenge anybody to call their insurance card and try to get through to somebody that quickly. But that's the difference that we can be about being a rural local plan, is making sure that we're accessible to those people that need those services. And then just some McLeod County specifics here. So you have about 5,000 members that are covered. Again, that biggest program, those families and children's, 4,271 of those. 278 Minnesota Care enrollees, 266 MSHO enrollees. Those would be the dual eligible members, Medicare, Medicaid through Prime West. 76 of the seniors that have their Medicare elsewhere or haven't qualified yet for Medicare. And then special needs basic care, those two programs there are for members with disabilities. You have 236 and 60. So I kind of went through this pretty quick, but just wanted to get to this slide and see if you had any additional questions about Prime West.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Question, Matt. We talked about the administrative expense dropping from 7% to 5%. Can you hit on that and give a little explanation on how we can do that?
Sure. Yeah, the big thing there is the winning that lawsuit and becoming the single plan. One, it helped us that we don't have to spend marketing dollars on trying to get members to choose our plan over a different plan. And it really comes from administrative efficiencies. So our annual revenue increased pretty significantly. We added about 24,000 members with that change. And we didn't have to add a bunch of additional staff to serve those 24,000 members. They can get kind of built into what we were already doing. So I think to add those 24,000 staff, I think the last number I looked at was about 13 new additional staff that we had to add to Prime West to cover them.
Another question, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
And Matt, if we take a look at the future, are we likely to keep growing, or at what rate do you think would be a reasonable amount of growth moving forward?
So because of the lawsuit win, now that we're single plan, the biggest program, If I look at the numbers today, there's probably a total of another 3,500 members that are enrolled in other plans and other programs, and that would be about as much growth as we could get, another 3,500 members or so, across, over the next few years. And we're hoping that we can move to single plan for some of those other programs too.
Very good. And my final question, Mr. Chair, for Matt is, in this climate of fraud that we live in, and the struggles that Prime West has experienced with Department of Health Minnesota and the court battles that we've had to go through for them to actually follow state statute. Can you give us a short summary on why this is happening, or what is bringing this action on that we struggle with at the state level?
Yeah, great question. So what happens a lot of times is I can talk about our transportation fraud, for instance. The biggest issue we had is we were not licensing the providers. The state licensed the transportation companies, and so we assume they've gone through all of their due diligence on what it takes to be a transportation provider and what they need to do to keep accurate records. And then the state produces their list and says, here's the qualified providers that we can use as a plan. So we go out and start using those providers, and we start to see some anomalies in claims. We terminate those providers, we turn over that data to the state, and it took them over 18 months to act on that data before they removed those from the list for other plans to use. So our concern is always with any providers where we're not doing the licensing and the credentialing is, have they had complaints from other payers potentially that hasn't flown through yet from the state? So we're always watching that. Again, our goal in fraud prevention especially is we have tons and tons of data metrics. So we're watching, and for transportation, for instance, we were on average billing, let's say $300,000 a month is what our transportation expense was costing. Well, all of a sudden one month it went from $300,000 to $500,000. Instantly we stopped. Something's going on. Let's pull those individual claims. Let's find out where the problem is so that we can stop it. We don't let those things get out of control before we have a chance to get in there and stop them. And I think that's a part of what happens in the state system is that, one, I don't know that they have as good of data controls with their systems. Just they keep talking about these old systems they have, and so they aren't getting accurate reporting out of them. And that's hurting them from identifying it early like we do.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Matt, as well. I just wanted to, Commissioner Smalls has been asking the question. He sits on Prime West for McLeod County along with Commissioner Cheska. So just so people realize that we do have people regularly sitting at the board meetings. Is there any other questions from the board for Matt? I have none. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, if we're getting close to wrapping up, I certainly want to say thanks to Matt for coming and appearing before us this morning. I think if people are understanding the Prime West and the model that we have to work with, I think they can realize how important it is that we support Prime West and we support county-based purchasing. That's something we talk about every time we get together, is maintaining county control as much as we can, although a struggle, but we continue that conversation. And I congratulate you on stepping up to this the CEO role here in, I think, is it June?
June
1?
1st, yep.
Okay, very good. And I wish you the best. And we certainly wish Jim the best in his retirement. I mean, I think, Jim probably passed up a lot of opportunities in advancement, but his loyalty to Prime West shows every day.
Yeah.
And I want to congratulate him on a great career.
Yeah, he had 25 years, and I know he had lots of opportunities, as we talked about him over time. But his commitment has been to rural healthcare and to making something unique here. He came from a rural healthcare background where the missing component was always the payer. He worked on the provider side a lot and the consumer side a lot, and never had that payer component to it, and realized being the payer is when we can actually maintain better access and control locally, and that's what he's built here. And so, yeah, he is 25 years in, and it's a very impressive organization that he has constructed, so.
So let's congratulate Jim and Matt for a fine presentation this morning.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. You got some big shoes to fill. I mean, our previous boards worked with Prime West, won it from the start, and a previous commissioner were on it when it was 13, and I understand managing the growth. I mean, you have to do, but anyhow, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, our next subject, National Ag Week, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Wright for a presentation.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is National Ag Week. This is the 1 week out of the year where we take a look at those gains and strides of American agriculture as a whole, all the way from production of food, fuel, and fiber, the hundreds of thousands of jobs that are created, or the billions that are added to our state and national economies. Our robust agriculture has a lot to do with the building of our nation, and still today stands as a very important backbone of our American economy. To help talk about some of these fine points, I've asked a couple of our area farmers, Ryan Mockington and Jerry Paulman, to join us today. They are active with the commodity groups supporting corn and soybean production. And so if I could ask those gentlemen to please come to the microphone, talk a little bit about their farming operation and their work with supporting the commodity use and production of the corn and soybeans.
Good morning, thanks for coming.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioners. I am Jerry Palman. I'm a local third-generation farmer. My son's fourth generation on our farm. I am at the local level of McLeod County Corn and Soybean Growers Association. My counterpart here, Ryan, you're at the state level.
Vice
Yeah.
President of the Minnesota Soybean Growers Association.
Former member of our county that went up to the state. And we've had great people through our county through the years, maybe you're not aware of, that have served on the state national corn and soybean growers board. So it seems like you get into the county for 9 years and then you're dedicated in.
Currently, Bob Lindeman lives in Broughton, serves on the state soybean board with me. Brian Thalman was a National Corn Growers Association president, actually. So
Correct. So very proud what we've done in McLeod County and represented through the county level all the way up to the national. Just kind of going through some stats maybe you guys aren't aware of. Just in McLeod County, and these numbers aren't exact, but roughly we generate about 117,000 acres of corn that's planted, which revenues generally about $104 million in like 2025. So some pretty outstanding numbers. When you go to a state level, Minnesota grows about 9 million acres. We're one of the top 4 corn producing states in the US. Ethanol, of course, is one of the big draws on it. We do, let's see here. So I'm gonna go back to the state here. So 96% of Minnesota farms are family owned. So, and our county is probably no different than that. So it is, even though we maybe hear about the bigger farms, a lot of them are still family owned. Ryan's generational farmer as well. Average farm in Minnesota is about 380 acres. So if we go back a generation, 2 generations, we were probably at 80 or 120 acres and probably a herd of cows that both of our forefathers raised as well, maybe some pigs, so on and so forth. So pretty amazing how it has developed. Obviously the needs, the risk go up greatly as this goes through. Going through like the US top users in corn, about 30% is ethanol, 38% is feed, and about 14% is exported. Corn's made 4,000 different products that are made from corn. Going to more of a local level, we do have about 190 members in the Corn Growers Association, about 115 in the soybean growers. We do a lot of local stuff. So we're involved in scholarships. So we generally give about 4 ag scholarships away out of our local. We do a county plot, which gives some research and data. We donate to the food shelf. We do a food drive every winter. where we go and buy food, everything corn or soybean based, and give that to the food shelf. We participate with egg in the classroom, so that reaches out to state level. So egg does get brought back because we are all getting removed a little bit farther from the egg scene. We also participate in our local FFA and 4-H. I'll turn it over to you as we go a little bit bigger and broader spectrum.
So I serve on the State Soybean Association as vice president. I also serve on the board of directors at Central United Cooperative, which has about 650 million annually in sales and has a facility in Brownton, Minnesota, in McLeod County. We employ over 300 employees at that cooperative. And I think when people think of ag, they just think of the farmer, right? They think of the guy out in the farm doing the work, milking the cows, doing the field work. But what I don't think most people realize is the agribusinesses and the people that are tied to the farming industry as a whole. Jerry gave some great numbers. I mean, these are the processors, the mechanics, the dealerships that sell us our equipment. So if you look at the grand scope of agriculture, it touches a lot of lives and a lot of economy. So the state of Minnesota, ag is number 2 for GDP. We have about 30% of the state's GDP. Biodiesel is $1.7 billion to the state's economy and 5,400 jobs. So it truly is a global industry that has ties around the world, and we're seeing that today with the issues in Iran. We're seeing diesel prices going up, fuel prices going up for everybody at the pump, but what a lot of people don't realize that $1 per gallon on your diesel is going to be about $6 per acre when we go out into the field this year to do our ag work. So we're seeing a lot of issues with the Strait of Hormuz. I actually got to do an interview on Channel 5 yesterday. And yeah, I mean, a lot of the fertilizer that we use as farmers come through that Strait of Hormuz, and prices jumped 20 to 25% in a matter of a week because of the whole global issues. And this is coming off of a time where we came off the tariff situation. We were just starting to crawl out of the low slums of uncertainty we had to get to reasonable prices where it's like, okay, maybe there's a chance here. So, and now soybeans lost 70 cents yesterday alone, which is roughly about 7% of our value. So, so agriculture truly has a global impact. There are some bright spots looking ahead. For the soybean industry, we're looking for renewable volume obligations to come out. They're supposed to come out last Friday, I was told. But that is the amount of gallons that are required under the RFS, and the EPA sets that standard. And that is supposed to be about a 60% jump from where we were in 2025 to 2026. So soybean oil has had a really good story the last year. We've seen a lot of growth in the soybean oil market as these RVOs approach, because that's going to set a guideline about what we need to use in the U.S. for bio-based diesel. So going into some new uses, things like replay. I think you commissioners approved a project with replay on a highway perhaps, but the city of Hutchinson uses replay as a road sealant on about 70 miles of the roads in the city. I mean, it's a green product, it's made out of soybeans. Every mile of replay accounts for about 60 bushels of soybeans. So if we can get more uses like that moving forward and promote that and keep using that, that would help utilize these soybeans more locally. Other products like soybean lawn fertilizer. I know the parks in Hutch use a soybean lawn fertilizer on their parks. Soy foam is our newest one. You've heard a lot about the forever chemical PFAS a lot in the news. So soy foam isn't actually new. It was around in the 1930s, but got replaced when new uses of chemicals, started being invented and stuff, and soy foam kind of got put on the, forgotten about. But it's come back. So soy foam, using soybeans, we can replace that forever chemical PFAS in fire retardant, fire suppressants. So local fire departments can use this and not be subject to the higher cancer risks that a lot of that has, right?
Correct. So the wash downs of all their equipment. But also, let's say that there is a barn fire, and you gotta put this foam on your hay, your storage. The soy foam, you can actually take that product and feed it back to your animals, because it's that safe. Where if you put the forever chemicals on it, now we're gonna have to actually rip it apart, spread it back on our fields. Well, of course, we don't want those on ourselves. We don't want them in our field either. So any of those items that Ryan was going through at a local level, I understand you guys have a financial obligation too, but know that it does help us locally to create more business in our own terms here. Yeah.
And there's other products like Roof Max, and you can apply that to your asphalt shingles to help prolong the life of your shingles, so you don't have to replace them as often. So again, there's, just a spider web of agribusinesses and uses that are around in the industry. We just need to keep promoting them and using them. Maybe later you can watch a YouTube video of the city of Edina. They're replacing a lot of their fleets, their snow plows, their utility trucks within the city to meet some greener standards and emission standards for the future. And by how they're doing this is they're using B100, which is 100% bio-based diesel that comes from soybeans. So it's completely from soybean oil in their fleets with their diesel engines. And that's here and now. I mean, that's just a retrofit to the current diesel engine. It meets emission standards that are set out into the future, and it's utilizing a product that's grown right here in our county. So we're happy to announce stories like that. So another thing, like I mentioned, the facility in Broughton. If we have value in ag here locally, we can reinvest them dollars into facilities. Those facilities provide jobs, and they provide tax base for things like our school. I looked up this last week. The facility in Broughton brings about $46,000 in property taxes to the school levies. So that is a huge impact on our schools. So, and last thing I'll leave them with is farmers, we love what we do. I mean, if we work for a paycheck, I don't think anybody would farm if we had to rely on a paycheck. But, we're born into this industry, and we just love to do it. And it's more about enjoying our job and growing a crop and seeing the fruits of your labor for somebody like me personally than to work at a job and earn a paycheck. I mean, it's something that I'll do my entire life, and I enjoy it. So.
Well, and once we do get paid, we seem to spend it right away.
Exactly.
That's
We
the
re-
egg. That's what
we
do.
well, we reinvest
Yeah,
into
we reinvest.
ourselves.
Yep. Thank you very much for having us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Yes.
Questions from the board?
I'd just like to say, thanks a lot for coming. This is an example of local leadership right here. Being able to participate at the county and moving up to the state level and being able to bring those stories here at Grand National Ag Week is pretty important, I think. So thanks for coming, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, excellent presentation, guys. I appreciate it as well. I mean, there's some things in there that I even wasn't aware of, and it'd be nice if there's some way we can be helpful in spreading some of that where the ag products are used, because we are an agribusiness-based county and proud of it. So I mean, that's good. And I guess before you leave, if we can grab a quick picture, I don't know if you.
Sure. See it up here?
Our next item is the public hearing. And I'll let our administrator present the purpose of the hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So item A under 6A, consider opening the public hearing to allow public comments regarding proposed McLeod County Resolution 26-CB-14, making the officer of auditor treasurer appointed. The public hearing was advertised in the McLeod County Chronicle on February 27, 2026, and March 6, 2026. And before you open it, I would just like to go over a few things. So as stated previously, we will have a vacancy in the currently elected position of McLeod County Auditor Treasurer upon Connie M. Kurtzwig's upcoming voluntary retirement of the role. Connie notified the county board that she would be retiring prior to the end of her current term in office and not running for re-election. And I brought the options to the county board for moving forward. The county board has the option of changing the auditor treasurer position into an appointed role with due process, hence the reason for this public hearing being scheduled to consider a resolution for their approval if the board decides on this option being the best fit for McLeod County. The appointed position process is available to the county board because the elected office holder confirmed that she will not run for office again by notifying the county board within the required 104 days prior to filing date for the upcoming election. Since the elected officer notified the county board can then pass a resolution to make the office appointed if they choose to do so. So just reviewing next steps, after our auditor treasurer's retirement date this year, the board will need to appoint an individual as auditor treasurer for the remainder of the current term, and that goes through December 31st, 2026. Minnesota Statute 375.08 covers that a vacancy for auditor treasurer is always filled by county board appointment for the remainder of the term, never by special election. Unlike some other offices, statute does not provide for a special election for an auditor treasurer. So with the appointed or elected status for the role after 12/31/2026, we have today's public hearing, and that will rely on whether the board approves or denies the resolution. And I know that our current auditor treasurer, Connie has some comments to share and just information regarding the role. Do you want to come up and share that? Thank you.
Morning, Connie.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Board. So as Sheila mentioned, we are here due to my upcoming retirement. I know there have been rumors throughout the county. This is my choice. I do love my role, and I'm very proud of McLeod County and how far we've come. I want to share my thoughts about the role to help everyone understand what's involved in the role before we can talk about the designation and selection of the candidate. So the duties first. They're very detailed, cyclical in nature. The major duties include property tax director. Taxes are calculated twice a year for proposed and certified. There are very specific deadlines in working with other departments, the assessors, the recorders, GIS, and other counties in sharing cross-county values and rates. And with levy input, value analysis, rate calc, tax calc, and proofing, this process takes over 1 month. The election director for the county, every other year, unless circumstances dictate a special election, such as our current commissioner race or a notified school district election. Drainage management for administration and treasurer of the McLeod County ditches. We do have 58 county and joint ditch systems, and those duties are throughout the year. That would include public hearings or meetings, landowner meetings, on repairs, petitions, et cetera. All of our redeterminations are complete, so we won't have those anymore unless something would come up. I'm also the deputy registrar and director over all license center business. So the next part I want to talk about is the direction that I receive from others. The AT role is governed by statute. There's not a day that doesn't go by when I'm not reading and interpreting statute, and oftentimes working closely with the county attorney or the drainage attorney. Neither the county board nor I have discretion with election laws and rules. So if the public has comment regarding election laws and rules, a more effective format would be in speaking with your state legislators who do have the ability to change those rules. I report to the Minnesota Office of the Secretary of State and the Minnesota Department of Revenue, various reporting duties with them. I work with the county board for approvals of contracts and financial actions. The next thing I want to talk about is the demeanor of the role. So it's intense, requires high organizational skills and a lot of forward thinking. Again, I'm going to speak about elections, but never did I think my role would require such deep involvement in both national and local security, monitoring and mitigating security, both physical and cyber, and working through situational awareness rooms, intelligence reports, and various organizations. Yet that's the reality of the world that we live in today, and pivoting with the demands is critical to ensure the safe and secure elections we have. So, as I've summarized the role, you can see it's very complex, and to be successful, that candidate within the role must have a very specific skill set. The good news is that I've trained my current staff in preparation of solid succession planning. McLeod County is in great health, both in management and employees. We work hard together to provide transparency, accountability, and that does include the county board. I am in support of the auditor-treasurer role transitioning to be appointed by the county board. Appointment would provide your voted and elected county board with the ability to appoint and oversee the best qualified candidate. Appointment would provide consistency between the offices with which I work most closely with, the assessors and the recorders, as they are also overseen by the county board. Appointment would ensure the future of McLeod County is protected by experience and individual qualifications and not at risk due to an election cycle. Appointment would provide protection of taxpayer dollars with accountability of the role and unlimited growth potential within the role. Approximately 64% of the auditor-treasurer offices in Minnesota have now transitioned successfully to an appointed model. Those offices have reported positive results, including better retention, succession planning, and reduced audit findings. With my experience in the role now for 10 years, the considerations I would regard an elected position include elected positions are beyond the comfort zone of some individuals. They may be qualified, yet do not want to be placed in an elected status. This may make succession planning difficult and also may limit the candidates on the ballot. Elections can be costly for the candidate. Not everyone is prepared or willing to expend their own personal funds to be elected. And then lastly, I guess, what if there simply wouldn't be anyone qualified on the ballot to fulfill the role? Someone would be elected. There's no guarantee who will run in an election. With the minimal statutory requirements of the role, many of us in this room would qualify. Yet, would any of us in the room be a well-suited candidate to accurately do the job, maintain the health of the county with responsible practices and integrity? This alone, I feel, remains a huge calculated risk to the county board and the McLeod County taxpayers. It's not just about the vote, it's about what's doing best for McLeod County. In closing, I'd like to thank anyone who's reached out in support of me, and I appreciate you.
Thank you, Connie.
Do we want questions or just public comment?
Does the board have any questions for Connie? Not right now. You're going to be here for the, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I do need to read the resolution before you open the
Please,
public
yep.
hearing. Thank you. And then I'll read the agenda item again since we've spoken a bit since. Resolution 26-CB-14, making the office of Auditor Treasurer appointed. Whereas Minnesota Statute 375A.1205 allows a county board to appoint certain offices, including the county auditor treasurer. And whereas the McLeod County Board of Commissioners recognizes the benefit to having an appointed person in the position of the county auditor treasurer because it promotes efficiency and consistency of county business with individuals qualified to oversee a broad spectrum of complex issues within the Auditor Treasurer's Office. And whereas the current McLeod County Auditor Treasurer provided the county board with written notice that she will not file for the office at least 104 days before the filing date for said office under section 204B.09. And whereas the McLeod County Board of Commissioners wants to ensure that the individual holding this position possesses the skills and/or experience necessary to properly carry out the responsibilities of this position. And whereas in accordance with Minnesota Statute 375A.1205 subdivision 6, a proposed resolution notifying the public of its intent to make the position of Auditor Treasurer appointed was published for 2 consecutive weeks in its official publication, and whereas a public hearing was held today on March 17, 2026, providing an opportunity for public comment. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to Minnesota Statute 375A.1205, the McLeod County Board of Commissioners, I'm going to stop there and say they would be adopting this resolution with a vote of yes. And then the office of the county treasurer would be an appointed position effective July 1, 2026, or such earlier date if the office became vacant. So that is the resolution that you are reviewing for consideration as a county board, which would require 4 votes for approval. And then going back to item A, public hearing, consider opening the public hearing to allow public comments regarding proposed McLeod County Resolution 26-CB-14, making the office of Auditor Treasurer appointed. Thank
Very
you.
well. I have, before we start here, I do have the signed copy of her intentions, or auditor's intentions to not file separate from a date of when when she is actually gonna leave. So, just so we're clear on that. With that, I would, any questions from the board first? With that, I'd entertain a motion to call to order the public hearing.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chair.
Second by Commissioner Schmalz. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the public hearing is now open at, I guess it's 9:58. I guess we'll move right, we have presented as much information that I can think of to be pertinent for this hearing. We'll now take public input. Is there someone that would like to address the board? If you would, come up and state your name and where you're from, and we're gonna do our best to hold comments to 3 minutes, within reason at least. Morning.
Good morning. Al Frederickson, Collins Township. I think Janet's been working too hard. I'd retire too if I was her. One of the, I can remember, and I was wondering if there's ever been any 2 names on the ballot for auditor, treasurer. As far as I know, there's always been only 1. I think one thing the board could do is select the person that, if you have someone you want to run, interview, get them on the ballot, encourage them to run. I don't know, maybe there'd be somebody to run against them or not. The other thing is, there used to be a separate treasurer. I think maybe, I don't know whose fault it is, but the job has gotten way too complicated, it sounds to me. Couldn't you break it up into separate offices and some of them maybe still be elected? I would really like to see an election of the election supervisor. Maybe we need a county secretary of elections, or, break out some of the duties, make it simpler, and as much as possible, give us a choice. I think elections are important. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else looking to address the board?
Morning, Doyle Benson from Collins Township. You know me well. So I would like to approach and hand out a few things. I have, and I'll talk about it. There's only one copy of these. I'll give this to the chairman. And you can have this also. So what I gave the chairman was a resolution from Collins Township. We, the people, voted at the township annual meeting to ask or to object to an appointed position. We wanted to stay electable. So in the meeting of December 16th of last year, it was stated that our auditor treasurer would be going on medical leave. And now July 1st comes up, and that was through the HR report. So now it comes up as July 1st is the maximum date here.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, I just want to correct that because you've brought it up twice now in meetings. That's not accurate. We had someone in their office on medical leave, and we made a staffing replacement while they were on medical leave. That
Okay.
is not the auditor treasurer.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was not aware of our
Thank you.
auditor on medical leave.
Okay. So I really hope that you can listen to the people today that have come, as they are skipping or reducing their income today to be here. You guys get paid for being here, but the rest of us don't. I'm wondering how the elected positions have been going for you. The appointed assessor that we have now has just announced at the workshop last meeting that the price, the values in Glencoe commercial are gonna go up 40%. So I'm wondering how the appointed positions are.
Excuse me, but we have to stay on topic. I mean, we're not on the assessor. I did some history or some looking. The assessor's never been elected. I went way back into the 50s and 60s of how it was done, and it was never been elected. But I would like to stay on the topic of the resolution that's before us today. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude or shorten it up, but that is our topic and what we have to make our decision on today.
So the handout, so the question, my question is, do we actually know what the appointed people actually learn or what they go through? And so that's why you have that packet there. Do we really know what they're being taught? I would have asked that question if you would have known what they were actually taught. So if this person becomes appointed, then actually who writes out the check? Is it gonna be Minnesota or is it gonna be McLeod County? Who's actually gonna write out the check to pay the salary? So it's of our opinion that we stay elected so that we can represent the people. If there's an appointed person, you only have to appeal to 4 people. When you're electable, you have to appeal to half or more of the area of the county.
That was 3 minutes, so I'll try to sum it up as quick as you can.
Okay. I guess we ask Connie to reconsider and to finish her term. Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate what she has done.
The officer, if appointed, would be an employee of the county.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to note, because I was not here during the workshop when you went over the assessor's information, the assessor bringing the values in Glencoe to where they will be is because of state requirement. And we've gotten state statutes requirements, and we've gone over this several times in many public hearings, our truth and taxation hearings. That is not a choice, and they do have required training, which she has covered, she has met. So I figure it's just best to comment it now, because if it's being brought up, it should be clarified, just like the medical leave.
And again, it should go without saying that the values come from the assessor's office and some statute qualifications there, I mean, by sales and I mean, I stand to be corrected, but I mean, it's not something, you don't make the decision of it, you'd go way through the data and post it to the taxpayer. Anyone else wish to address the board?
Donald Albrecht, I'm resident of Penn Township. I'm also the clerk of Penn Township. And I definitely want to thank Connie for her years of service. And she has spoken out against the county board on several issues in the past years where she didn't agree with the county board. As an elected official, she did not have to worry about repercussions from the county board because you were not hiring her. She was hired by the people. So that has been a past situation here in the county. If we go back and look through the history of our county auditors and county treasurers, individuals seeking that position started working in the office. They came up through the ranks and followed their predecessor into office. And I think that is something that can continue here in McLeod County. We have people that are willing to serve underneath the elected official, learn the ropes of the game and so forth, and not be under the thumb of the county board when they make decisions on their work. I believe each one of the commissioners, I sent a copy of Penn Township at their annual meeting on March 10th, passed a resolution requesting that the office of County Auditor Treasurer remain as an elected position. I believe, did everyone receive that email? So then I don't need to pass that out, but that, I will read it for public record. We, the voters of Penn Township, do not support McLeod County Commissioners making the position of County Auditor Treasurer an appointed position and support keeping it an elected position in McLeod County. And that was passed by the voters. It was brought up as other business at our meeting, and a vote was taken, and the resolution passed the members at our annual meeting. Thank you. I have one other question for the, possibly Ryan, for the attorney. Being we're looking at making this large a change, are you allowed to do it with 4 commissioners on the board, or do you need to have 5 commissioners present to make that?
And I've reviewed the statute, and what I've advised our board chair is that the statute requires an 80% vote to pass. So with the makeup of our current board, with the vacancy, that would require all 4 to vote in favor to pass, but they are not prohibited from considering it given the vacancy. So that's the advice.
Mr. Chair, I also just want to note that we did discuss that because we thought that it may be a concern since we have District 5 open for our commissioner. So all 4 board members would need to vote yes for this resolution to pass, like the attorney said. You have to have at least 80% to pass this vote. So if there were a District 5 commissioner, if they voted no, the other 4 would still have to vote yes. And that was part of why the timing still worked out for it to be considered without a person being in the role of District 5 commissioner. Thank you.
And you're correct, I mean, it's been summed up in what was just said. It was a concern of mine as well, and that's why nothing would change. I mean, it takes all 4 commissioners to pass this resolution, and it would take 4 regardless if we had 5 sitting or not. I mean, your point is well taken. Unfortunately, the timing and the crunch for time has caused some questions, you know, on how we're moving forward, but I can assure we're moving forward within statutes.
With that being said, I appreciate the information. Basically, we have one commissioner's district that doesn't, the people from that area actually do not have representation on the board right now. It'll just be them speaking from the audience. They have no commissioner to voice their concerns at today's meeting. The other issue, as we look back at that statute that you're working under and so forth, how soon until the county board decides that we need to streamline our county offices some more and decide to roll the position of county auditor, treasurer, and assessor into one office, which is allowable by statutes there that you've been working under? Thank you.
I can answer to the best of my ability, or Attorney Hench can. I don't know that really pertains to today's question. I mean, that's obviously a question, but this rule does put a lot more, changing this rule puts a lot more pressure on the county board. The county board is still, I mean, you know, watch out what you wish for. I mean, it actually truly gives us more responsibility and duties as a county board. I don't know, to your question, again, I'm speaking for myself, but to your question, that is gonna depend on the makeup of the board. I mean, I agree with the history you gave on if they've worked themselves through the office. Well, that's been, in my recent history, that has been how it's been, but that's not a requirement. Or even a chance of there's retirement reasons, health reasons, or other reasons that might not happen. So that's something that at least myself and I assume the rest of the board has had to take into consideration. And I'll reserve the rest until we
Mr.
move
Chair.
through the hearing.
Just to note that since 1973, that Minnesota statute, section 375A.10, has allowed a county board to appoint a person to fulfill the duties of the county auditor, treasurer, sheriff, or recorder. I just wanted to note that with your comment so that people were aware. Thank you.
I dug into, I mean, I don't know how pertinent it is, but I mentioned before to Mr. Benson, I dug into some history books last night, a couple old government books back from the 40s and 50s. This is not a new argument. This has been going on since it started. But the only difference is it's become so complex now that I don't believe that the Constitution is a living, breathing thing. It's the Constitution. It stands for what it says. However, things around that have changed. I mean, AI, there's just hundreds of, yeah, I think I can say hundreds without being wrong, of different things, and the technology that has to be taken into consideration, and the responsibility of that information getting to the board. But with that, is there someone else who would like to address the board? Good morning.
Morning. Lori Nolan, Collins Township. We are going to be celebrating our 250th year free from taxation abuse from England. That you would even think of taking away our right to vote for something as important as how our money is spent and who assesses our property is beyond belief. Our founding fathers fought to give us freedom from rulers who would take this away. The 19th Amendment says, and I quote, "The right of citizens of the U.S. to vote shall not be denied or abridged." I know this is the woman's right to vote. I'm a woman, and this is very clear to me that my right to vote for this is being denied. You are taking away our money, and I want to say in how it's used. Making the assessor appointed takes that right away and opens it up for abuse without accountability. Have you not learned with all the fraud being uncovered in Minnesota right now? This is taxation without representation. The assessor deals with my money. I want them to be held accountable with my vote. The ability to vote whether or not we the people want this position appointed or voted in office should be on the ballot. I have family in the military. One just came back from the combat zone in the Middle East. I told him about this. He is appalled to know that you're entertaining the right to taking away the right to vote for this important position. There's someone on County Road 7 who puts up silhouettes for patriotic holidays. This is an affront to all people in the military when you talk about taking away the right to vote. And I just want to end. A shame on you for proposing taxation without representation. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for clarification, you mentioned assessor in this. This is not an assessor position, it's the auditor's position.
That was
I just
an
want
error
to-
on my words, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
No.
the auditor.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Good morning.
Good morning, you guys and ladies. I'm James Steinbeck from Collins Township here. And I'd like to read Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution. And it says here, the President, the Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, and...
You're actually going to get into the
Okay.
mic, pull the mic down a little, or
Okay.
talk more into it.
Okay. You want me to start over? Just better?
Yeah, it's a lot better.
Okay. The reason I read this is because civil officers still, they can be like appointees it comes under this Constitution to Article 2, Section 4. That's why I'm reading it. The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachments for conviction of treason, bribery, and other misdemeanor crimes. Like I said, civil officers, if the board appoints somebody to take a position of elected official, it still comes under this Constitution. We can still have our rights to remove or whatever we have to do. And I want to start out here. I noticed that there's few people that leave this county for whatever reasons, I don't know. But I'd like to thank Connie Kurtwich for one thing. She was the only lady what I knew what stood up since 2018 about these buffer strips and ditches. On July 25, she stood up and said, well, don't quote me on this, but she said she was against turning drainage systems over to the state, okay? And she was the only one, since I've been dealing with this, what stood up for us, the people. I'm gonna cut it short because I gotta go down here. Our civil rights of the United States Constitution, we the people object to take an elected position to be appointed by a corporation board that represents policies, not law. And we need to, well, we need to restate the clerk, auditor, and treasurer, and local assessors to the township again. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board? State your name. Morning.
Morning. Kevin Buss, Hutch Township. One of those who are not represented. You four may think it's okay to vote yes for this. I represent Hutch Township and Nakoma Township, the unrepresented. How do you feel if you were standing in these shoes, being unrepresented? Honestly, our county attorney sits here and fights for those unrepresented, we the people. You all have to vote your conscience today and go back to you that you represent and say, I honestly voted for the people that couldn't represent and couldn't speak out. And that's what we got to do today, is we have to vote for the people that honestly, like Connie has done, and she has said no, and she's done it in the past. She's came to the board and said, this isn't right, guys, you can't do this. This isn't fair. She's done it in the past. Because she's new, she's had the public and the people to stand up behind her. Now, she's been working for the county. That's her job. She can't come forward and say that. But when she's defending we the people, she can afford and have that luxury to do that. But just remember, you people were put in your position by election. Just remember that when you're voting today.
Thank you. I'm going to comment on it just a little bit. Connie has came to us several times, and that's what's made our administrative strong, is she came with statutes and data that showed us on what our options were, and with her interpretation of those statutes. You're right as far as District 5 not having a commissioner. However, I'm elected by a district along with everybody else here, but we are county commissioners. I had that pointed out to me several times from the beginning till now, that I obviously do represent my district, but I represent the county, all 5 districts, in especially in cases like this, or you know, we're one McLeod County made up of the 5 districts. Anyone else wishing to address the board?
Mr. Chair, while Danny's coming up, I did also want to point out in reference to the discussion on buffers, McLeod County Board of Commissioners did by a 5-0 vote pass a resolution sent to the state to oppose what is currently today 103F, the buffer law. And our supporting documentation for that resolution came from the Auditor Treasurer's Office, our SWCD staff, our administration, and all board members in their own research. So it was definitely a pushback on our part, all of us included in, again, what is today written as 103F. Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
And I, thank you, Commissioner Wright, but there seems to be a perception that it's, us and they. It's not. I don't agree with, there's a lot of things I don't agree with, but I have to play the cards I'm dealt. I mean, there's some things that if you don't agree with, you can't just go home. You still have to keep representing the rest of the county. There's a lot of things here that we have to do our best to work to get the benefits to our constituents. But with that, go ahead, state your name and.
Dan Wetland, Penn Township. Got a question for Connie. As long as McLeod County has been in existence, how many auditors have been elected in your position? Anything off the top of your head, anybody?
We have a record of it at the courthouse, and I had it pulled up on my screen just to note that I believe Cindy was the last one in over 2 decades before Connie was in her role, but I don't have the complete list for you, sorry.
But where I'm coming from, now we want to come and you want to tell us that you guys have to make this decision, and this decision has been made since the existence of this county. And like Connie had said, this is a big role. And you guys have made it a bigger role when you combine all these things. We had a treasurer before that was elected, and that role was always filled. And Ryan's position has always been elected. The commissioners, they always have been elected. And my thinking is, Paul and Doug, you have made some decisions out there in my area that has cost us a lot of money before. And it's still costing us money. And with that said, I cannot believe that 4 people should be able to make this decision and what this is going to cost us in the long run. When this has been done ever since this county was in existence, and now it wants to be changed because you can do it, I don't think that's right. Because we all have the ballot box, and that's what this country was founded on. You vote them out. And when you have seen election fraud, they don't even want that to happen anymore. Don't do this, people, because you're only adding things, not today, that can happen in the future. Let things stand the way they were. They have worked this long. That's what I'm coming from. Don't change things that are working, because you're only adding into more corruption that can happen down the road, just exactly what the other guy had said before me. We're not represented anymore. Anything can happen. But you are elected by the people, not appointed. And that's where I'm going to let this act, and you can think about it. And the thing is, all you guys are sitting up there that can always be removed. But once we have a auditor that's in there and backed by you guys only, they can't be removed the way they can any elected official as easy. That's where I'm going to let it.
Just for the record, in my time, I do remember four different auditors. I know there's been more, but I do remember 4.
Well, correct, Doug. That's what I'm saying. I'm asking throughout the county, and this is why I'm bringing this up.
No, I'm not rebutting what you said, but I do remember 4, just for the sake of conversation, but and I also, some were good, some not so good, but, it comes back to the experience that Connie, do you know, or was it in the statement you read, how many counties have, and not that this justifies it, I'm not saying that, but how many counties have gone to appointed positions in the auditor's office?
Approximately 64%.
64%. And I would, again, just from correspondence and knowing from other counties, it's because of how technical this position has come, whether it's treasurer. The assessor has never been elected.
With that
The only
You'll have to
difference,
come to the microphone or it doesn't show up on
Correct.
camera, just so you know. Thank you.
With that said, Doug, how should I say this and be very polite? Just because everybody else is doing it, didn't your mother teach you, you don't have to stick your finger in a meat grinder and have your finger cut off in the
oh,
long run too?
absolutely. No,
That's where I'm
My
coming
mother
from.
used to tell me that if my friends jump in the lake, you're gonna jump in the lake too, but whatever.
That's where
No,
I'm.
I understand.
So I mean, don't give that thing, just because everybody else is doing it, it's right.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners and staff. Connie, first of all, thank you for your years of service. It's been exemplary, as well as all of our predecessors as county auditors have done a tremendous job for McLeod County. I'm Ron Szymanski from Hale Township. I didn't want to get up today to talk. Most of the people that have been up here have talked already. But I'm kind of speaking for the 20,000 voters in McLeod County, roughly 20,000 voters in McLeod County, who want to have their voice heard. And you have two ways of proceeding on this issue if you want to make the auditor treasurer position appointed by your resolution today or by a voter referendum in the next election. Let the voters speak. Countywide, we only elect 3 officers right now: our county attorney, our county sheriff, and our county auditor. By taking away one of those 3 positions, you really are disenfranchising a lot of voters because they don't have input directly on who serves our county. I realize as county commissioners, you're all elected, but you're elected by your district only, not countywide. And so I ask you to consider it important that the voters countywide have a voice in who their auditor treasurer is, and that should be adequate to control. As we heard earlier, previous auditors elected to office have generally come from the auditor's staff, and I think that is an excellent training ground, but it is not necessarily the only one. There are very intelligent people living in McLeod County who could possibly do the job as well if they had the ambition, the desire, and the knowledge to fulfill that duty. So thank you for hearing us today.
Thank you. Morning.
Good morning. Doug Benson, Gowlands Township. I think there's somewhat of a real simple vote, because are you representing the people or are you representing government control? To me, it's very simple. Who are you representing today? Because if you're representing the people, you know what the people have been saying. You've heard them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Good morning.
Good morning. Randy Krippner, Collins Township. Just a question, that treasurer auditor is gonna be, you wanna have an appointed position. That should be separated again to 2 positions. And what's saying, going down the road today, it's this one we're talking about appointing, but what about sheriff, county attorney? You're gonna appoint them down the road. Down the road, you might even, not saying today, but tomorrow it goes into county commissioners. Well, we're just gonna appoint everybody. What do we have to say about it? Nothing. We have no control. Again, it's we the people. We're not being represented out here. You got, one person's gonna have control again. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board?
Hi, My name's Tim Nolan. I've been a McLeod County resident for 25 years now and a taxpayer. Wasn't planning on doing this today. There's two things that I hear, and I remember when the treasurer was removed from the vote, if I'm correct. It was how complicated things are getting, and we have to make sure we have somebody that's qualified to fill that position. And I'm hearing that same thing, and it's echoing. Oh, because of AI, because of the complex tax codes in the state of Minnesota, we have a fear that the people will elect somebody not qualified, and we'll be faced with a dilemma. Well, there's two things that are going through my head. Number one is power. Most of my neighbors are in agriculture. I'm a tool maker. I'm a factory worker. I work for an hourly wage, and I do what my supervisor tells me to do. Whether I agree with it or not, I know my review at the end of the year is going to be based on my saying, yes, sir. And that's my fear. My fear is if you guys and gals appoint this position, you're taking away my power and you're giving you the power. And the way I mean that is their review is going to be based on who? It's not we the people anymore, it's the county board. I'm confused. I don't know who they answer to. But it's a business employee. It's no longer a service. So, wasn't planning on speaking today, but I just want, if there's one of you four that are on the fence, that haven't already decided, what America, what McLeod County are you handing down to your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren? Is it just going to be, and don't take this personal, I wish it said McLeod County Government Services, not McLeod County Government Center. What are you handing them? I hope one of you, I hope you're handing them a county that has we the people with the power. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Good morning.
Hi, I'm Mike Koenig from Stewart, Minnesota. My family has been rooted in this county for 100 years this year. My grandpa served on Collins Township Board, and it was recently brought to my attention, and I've heard it often, more laws, less freedom. And if we take county's position to be a appointed position, that is, in my opinion, less freedom. And also, if that position becomes appointed, there's no further remedy for the people to correct the position in terms of fraud. And I've heard you guys talking about fraud. I'd say it'd be a much better solution to keep it in the elected position. And also, I hear about the county saying keeping control in the county. Well, let's keep it in the county meaning the people's hands, not stripping it away from the people. The people are clearly saying it should stay in the elected position. Now you better vote that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board?
This is just off the cuff, you know? I've been listening to you people talk and saying that it's hard to find somebody in the position to take a role, okay? It's a lot of mathematics. There's kids growing up, when getting they want to get into government, they can start at the bottom like most and move themselves up. And there's some very intelligent people out there. And to do her job, you have to be intelligent. That's just like being a CEO of a company. You got to be super intelligent to understand. And there's people out there that can be elected to do that. And I would say, I don't know, that maybe an interview in front of the board, you know, and maybe 3, 4 people will come up, want to run for the office. And another thing is, it should be separated, the treasurer and audit should be separated, because elections need to be audited by the auditor, not by the treasurer. And to keep everything straight, I think that's, I know there's people out there can do it. And the pay scale is very good in this county. So you attract a lot of people, a lot of intelligent people too. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Again, anyone else wishing to address the board?
Mr. Chair, may I speak again?
Sure.
All right, Ron Szymanski, Hale Township. Something I forgot to bring up in my earlier comments is elections and election integrity. Our auditor is the chief election officer for the county. And I'm reminded of the circumstances of the 2020 election when COVID was predominant and there was a lot of mail-in balloting going on. One of the things that the powers that be at the Secretary of State's office was that if you had mail-in ballots, that it wasn't required to verify signatures on the ballots. And there's a lot of concern about election fraud, multiple votes coming from people. We need a good election integrity officer from McLeod County, and I think keeping an auditor as an elected position is important to that process. Thank you.
Thank you. Another thing that I did notice, and I didn't have time to research it all the way, there has in the past, and there still is, you can have an actual elected election person, I can't think of the right word, but I don't know if you know it, Connie, there is actually a place for having a separate employee that just handles the elections, but that has kind of also gone by the wayside. And I noticed in a theme that it's been brought up today that elected officials, we're all elected officials here. We are representing all the people. We're representing all the people in McLeod County. Again, I'm somewhat dismayed in my years. 15 years ago, I wasn't in this camp of wanting, I am in favor of the appointing of the auditor. And 15 years ago, I'd have fought it, I'd argued probably with most of the same arguments that I hear today. But after being in this office for 12 years or almost 12 years, I've had, my mind has been changed. I've discussed it with the legislators. It dismays me to be out in the county and nobody knows what we do. Or they have a misperception. They don't know what county commissioners do. In Connie's, in the auditor position, they have it mixed up with assessing and everything else. It's also a responsibility of the people to understand what these offices do and our responsibility to make them accurate. And as far as, I've said it once before, this puts more responsibility on the commissioners, by far.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I just want to note that we have an election administrator, Janet Betzinger. The auditor treasurer position is the election director. So we do have separate positions and responsibilities for election that are not all elected roles.
Right, and I looked at, I should, well,
It's okay,
it's a
not-
lot for
it's-
today,
yeah.
but I looked through some old government books and the outline of director, you know, how the different offices bled down, and it's quite interesting already on how it's changed. But my overall point is, yeah, I think you need to hold your elected positions accountable. I really didn't hear, I mean, there's a checks and balances in all these positions, and I really didn't hear an argument of what could go wrong, of where that check and balance in the auditor's position, where it is. I did not hear that today.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Respectfully, I would suggest maybe do a last call for public input.
Thank
And then
you, yeah.
before we go too far into discussion or deliberation, we would close the public hearing session. So I would just make sure we do a last call
Sure.
before we'd entertain a motion to close.
I see there's two more for sure that want to address the board.
I'm glad, Commissioner Krieger, that your last statement. The voters, as I stated before, and I go back to Auditor Schultz, goes back to the 60s. I've followed that. There's always been someone that's worked in the office, got their feet on the ground, knew what was going on, that was willing to serve in that position. And it was always someone who was a resident of McLeod County. The family was in McLeod County, their interests were in McLeod County. What will happen if you open this up as an appointed position and you have somebody from the East Coast, who knows where, that meets your qualifications, and you put them in that office? They have the opportunity to visit with the board, sway the board on certain issues and this and that. We know what's happened in other communities, especially in the metro area. And the metro area, everything is appointed down there already. Sheriff is appointed, everybody's appointed down there. So then it's just the commissioners or the council that is making those decisions. And the time it takes to vote out a county board to move things around is too long if we should happen to get someone that the county board appoints and is not willing to push out the door, because you are also going to be under constraints. You're going to have to show just cause for removal of the individual that you appoint. And that's going to be a lot of court time spent on that to get somebody out of the office, unless you have a solid stance for the reason for removing them. That is the reason public elections were put in place, so the electorate, the people of the county or the jurisdiction, could make those decisions. And I strongly urge you to not go ahead with this resolution. If anything at all, I would ask you to, since Connie is planning to retire before the end of her term, you have the authority to appoint someone to finish that term. But I would suggest that you put it on the ballot
Mr.
down
Chair,
the road.
I'm gonna ask you to pause because our streaming is down, and I would assume that we probably have a lot of viewers right now, because I'm getting several messages. Can you pause?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She just told me that our streaming is down, so we're trying to wait to see if we can get it back up so it's on film, or on YouTube. Pardon?
They have to reboot the equipment at the cable.
I can't hear you.
They have to reboot the equipment at the TV station. Can you just take a 5-minute break?
Lori wants to recess.
With everything that's, I know the hearing is still open, but with they're asking us for a little time to do some equipment change, so we'll take a 5-minute recess. We'll try to hold it to that 5 minutes if we can.
Just to give you more information, we typically record even if our live stream goes down when you're watching it on TV. However, since it said it ended, we want to make sure that we give the streaming service a chance to reboot, and then we'll start when Matt lets us know that it's back up.
No, you're good.
I'll check. Yeah, just let me know if there's something you wanted me to speak to. Do you think you'll be here from the start of the workshop, or you got a hard stop?
Well, we'll see how long this goes.
Their bathroom break right now.
McLeod wouldn't open the side door.
Oh, no. The video's ready to go. Ryan said he's kind of got a hard stop. So wondering if his attendance is required at our workshop.
Not the workshop, no.
I don't see anything that I need him for.
No, not the workshop anyways.
Yeah.
We're gonna call the hearing back to order. Connie, our auditor, asked to comment on some of the statements that were made, so Connie, go ahead.
Hello again. As many of you have said, I do speak up when I note something. So I do want to either inform or remind that we don't have to reach out too far to see other counties where there were staff who did not want to be elected. So they were trained in the positions and also very knowledgeable and great staff, but they didn't want to be elected. So in those counties, it was changed to appointed. So, thank you.
Mr. Chair, just noting for our video, because they were offline when we took a recess, that we were at a recess and that you're continuing the public hearing.
Right, I did call the hearing back to order. Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead, state your name again, please.
Yeah, Doyle Benson from Collins. So I just wanted to formally, or for the record, read the resolution. It says, "We the people of Collins Township, resolution passed, presented and passed March 10th, 2026. Whereas McLeod County has given notice of its intent to make the office of the Auditor Treasurer appointed, therefore be it resolved that we, the people of Collins Township, as the fourth branch of government, object to McLeod County's resolution of intent to make the Auditor Treasurer appointed." As far as the comments that were made, I appreciated those comments where it shows that after many, many years of being in the positions that you are, we lose our direction. So the county, to me, the auditor, the treasurer and auditor, the most important is integrity and honesty, and the job can be trained. The actual work can be trained. So I stand for the election because we need honest and people with integrity running those positions. That's the most important. And the second is that they report to the people, because what was said earlier is the longer you guys hold your office, the more you lose your relationship with the people, and the bigger your relationship with Minnesota State is. And those statutes are not always constitutional. We need to stay focused on who we represent. That's what we need to focus on: honesty, integrity, and who we represent. Not Minnesota that makes statutes that don't always follow the Constitution, but the people right out here, grassroots people, we the people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I comment one more thing?
Sure. State your name again, please.
Dan Wetland. Doug, I don't wanna quarrel with you, but when you gave your statements about when you were in here almost 12 years, you think this has to be this way and that has to be that way. And I'm just gonna come back to see what Doyle had said. It is true, when you get in here this long, you think everything has to be done the way you want. You have forgotten who you are representing. You think you have the ideas only to do the way you want it done. And this is why we have elected positions, because people can go and voice their opinion in the election box, not just like what you said. You have to take care of this. You don't. You have to represent the people on their wishes, not what you always think. You have to remember, you have to always use good faith and honesty. But what you had said, you just said what Doyle had said. You think it's only the way you think, and that is wrong.
We're not here to argue, and
that's
but
what
I
I'm
will
saying.
stay up for myself that, no, the experience of going through this office has, and listening to other people of what they want and how they want to be represented, is we've been talking about this for a number of years. This isn't a new subject. I think I might be wrong, but I would guess it's over 10 years.
Correct. And like what Connie says, there's people who work in the office that doesn't want to be elected. Well, I'm just going to say tough. This is the way it's done. You have to stand up and you've got to present yourself to the people if you want to do this for the people, not for what you want to do in that office. You have to represent the people in this county, and that's what's taken away when you guys want the appointments.
Thank you. And that, I think we are doing that. We are representing all the people of McLeod County to the best of our ability. Your name again, please?
Randy Krippner, Collins Township, and yes, I agree with that you said you're leaning more towards appointing.
Yes.
Well, that tells me you've been in there too long, because you're not thinking of we the people anymore. You want to do it the way the state wants. Oh, the statute says this. Well, I don't care what you lawyers say. Statutes aren't really law. Constitution is law and law is law, not these statutes. They can be changed. Change them. And Paul, I got a question, or not a question for you, but to tell you, most of your district is here, and everybody's saying, vote no on this. I would think you would take that and represent that, no, we want an appointed position. And I think you know that, Paul, and I don't want to say nothing bad about you, because I do get along with you, so.
Is there any, I have more to say, but we'll wait till the public hearing. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the board? If not, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing. Motion made by Commissioner Chutzka to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Good second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing is closed. Board's wishes? Comments from the board? I guess, I don't, never like crickets. I don't disagree with a lot of statements that were made, but I don't resent, but I understand the thought of being in office too long. I wish for a week or a month, some could walk and look at what we all go through. I mean, we really don't have the choice. And when I say really, outside of civil disobedience, have the choice not to follow state statute. I mean, there's money tied to these things. That doesn't mean we don't stand up for what's right. We have in the past, with some gun rights and some other things. And I could argue these things both ways, but I really believe in my heart that turning this position, and that's what our subject is for today, into appointed position for some of the reasons were cited. I mean, another neighboring county, they had the same fraud from elected into appointed, and they had to react quickly to replace them, because our duty is to make sure the services and the responsibilities of our county are available to all the constituents. And to say that we can't replace, that's not quite true. It obviously takes a number of the board to do whatever adjusting we see fit, but it does take, people that know me know that I've tried to make some changes and we're not successful. And I shouldn't even use the word successful, because it was successful in that I brought it to transparency. But if you don't get your way, what do you do? I don't get to go home. I don't get to, I mean, I guess I could quit, but what kind of a person would that be? I mean, these are difficult questions. They're not an agenda, at least not for us in McLeod County. So I mean, I don't think it should be an arguing session. I do think I took some of these things to when I say mine, my district, at their meetings, and I've floated them amongst residents of Glencoe, and I had no resistance. Or some of them put it in my hands. You weigh it out and you decide what you think is best. So I mean, I have to take that to heart as well. I'm not gonna repeat myself. I do believe in the appointed position. I think Connie's done us a great job. We don't always agree. Connie can tell you herself, we don't always agree. But my respect for her job, and the work she has to do, and I see the statutes coming down. I'm pretty active in watching what the legislature does, and it's one-sided now, there's no doubt about that, but that's, you still have to do what you gotta do. You can't revolt. I guess you can. I'm not, it's not gonna be under my leadership, but that doesn't mean we don't stand up for what we think is right. And we got a great staff. I guess I'm done, Commissioner Wright.
Yep. So first of all, just to make a couple comments before I begin with some of my more prepared statements. So, Mr. Krippner is correct. I do have a lot of them out there today are represented in my district, and I do appreciate you guys taking the time to come here. And I definitely hear the comments being made. At the same time, there's also a few inaccuracies in some of the comments, and I wasn't really prepared to start a debate, but on that point. But the county board, whether it's appointed or elected, really can't tell the auditor treasurer what to do. That is, again, and Doug talked to it and some of you others, I mean, the reality of state statute still sets the guide rails for the expectations and how they're audited and how they perform their job and their responsibilities, whether you're talking through ditch law, finance, or the elections. It's all in statute. That is overseen by the many agencies that come through here. Our ability to really push that dial is quite minimal. I would say the biggest impact that we have is more related to the personnel policy that we have here for all of our employees to be able to follow and to make sure that those job responsibilities are performed properly in that. And so there really isn't a lot of room for the county board to redirect what the auditor treasurer is supposed to be doing, whether it's elected or whether it's appointed. There's some other points in there, but I'm just gonna go through my more prepared statements on this. So it's been mentioned this topic has been around for many years. I remember it was talked about when we used to meet in the courthouse boardroom. That was a long time ago. Brought up briefly. It was brought up at length when we met in the Glencoe City Center, and is now brought up here today. And I think we just need to recognize that position being quite special in its role, how many of the state laws, policies, regulations, and procedures have to flow through that spot and have to be performed perfectly. The state legislature's requirements to run for that spot as elected are so raw and minimal. There's basically four. You have to be an eligible voter, you have to be at least 21, you have to be a resident at least 30 days, and you cannot be filing for an additional office at the same time, and that's it. Pretty small, but the reality is, of all these other areas that you have to master, you have to be able to master county finances to the sum of tens of millions of dollars, you have to maintain county investments, you have to supervise elections to the specifics of state statute, and be able to maintain financial records absolutely perfectly. You need a background in accounting, finance, county government, property tax systems, election administration, interpret state statutes, ditch law, and manage employees in a very large department. Currently, how do we utilize this role here? Like many other counties, this is a department head for us, a very important department head. You manage employees and you manage budgets. In terms of the budget, this office, whether it's elected or appointed, cannot purchase or expend money unless it's approved here. That is the one check that does exist. After that, you have to follow all of your state statutes and requirements set forth by the legislature. You're responsible to state agencies such as the Department of Revenue, Secretary of State, State Auditor, and the small movement that the county board does adopt. Over the time that I've been here, I served with Cindy Schultz and Connie Kurtzwig, and both of these individuals, in my opinion, have been basically workaholics. They are meticulous and show an outstanding work ethic and dedication to the role. So to a degree, I think we've been spoiled here. We've seen excellence. We've seen excellence for a long, long time. But there are some very concerning examples throughout the state where an elected AT has been voted in and it's become somewhat of a disaster for the county's operations. And there's some comments about being able to replace somebody by vote, but that's a 4-year cycle. We can replace somebody as appointed in a fraction of that time. The examples of some bad luck individuals out there, errors in audits, hostile work environment requiring attorneys to come in, not coming to work, and abusing the fact that there are some very minimal requirements to run for the office that carries so much accountability. And again, you can't, even when that comes up and you have somebody that's not performing their role, your hands are really tied until that next election cycle rolls around. If appointed, the person must complete and comply with the county's personnel policy and can be dismissed or reprimanded if they cannot perform their duties. When we talk about the elected roles of county government, and this is by statute, we can't change them here. Again, this is the legislature statute. The sheriff is elected and has a discretionary role. The attorney is elected and has a discretionary role. County board members elected clearly have a discretionary role. But the auditor treasurer, this is a big separation point. The auditor treasurer is completely boxed in or governed by state statute and state agencies and what little movement the county board has. And that's really one of the biggest separations here, is that the role of where elected offices that are discretionary versus this one single one that's singled out that really has so many state controls on it. So when we finished the year in 2025, we passed the state of Minnesota's lowest levy increase of all counties. The year before that, we were almost there. There was only a handful that were at that same point. If you want to go back and look at 5-year averages or 10-year averages, McLeod County is historically always on the low side as compared to other counties in the state of Minnesota. We're always on the lower third of the per capita taxation. That's another kind of a rating system that we look at. There are many reasons why we're there, but one of the biggest that we can bring up today is that we have great employees here to perform the services for our constituents, both what they need and deserve. Not just anyone gets to work here. For sure, there's only a slim few that can qualify to be in our management positions. So if you want to be one of our department heads, you better be some of the best in your skill set to be selected. And that's where we find and retain value, workflow, and to create the services that we have and maintain our costs low. Is it possible for voters to select the right candidate? Absolutely it is. Absolutely. It's been brought up many times that the individual has been mentored throughout the department and they've gotten it, and we've seen that. But there is also a risk that a popular vote can happen by somebody who does not have that mentoring properly, and it's going to take a long time to get onboarded. So there is, again, we're going back to a little bit of a risk if this went to someone that was not truly qualified for the role, but yet would be selected through a popular vote. As an appointed position, this opens up a very detailed look at not just saying that you can do the job, but you need to prove it on a daily basis. Applicants who get a background check, which is not a thing on an elected role, reference checks, actual resumes, potential multiple interviews, and even a failed search if it doesn't work out the first time. Basically, the way that this role is structured, we need to know at all times, and it's brought up several times here today, of the importance of this role and the qualifications of this role, that this person needs to be the best to lead this department. So I'll leave this with 2 questions for myself. Is this viewed as a takeaway from constituents to go to appointed? And the answer is yes. I definitely can say that. But are we replacing that with a higher degree of accountability to make sure that we have the right person every day doing their job in this unique position and to keep our workflow standards high? To that, I answer that a definite yes. And by answering yes to that question, in my opinion, I'm confident that a decision to move this to an appointed position is right for McLeod County. So that's where I stand.
Mr. Chair?
Thank you, Commissioner Wright. I appreciate those words.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Schmaltz, go ahead.
Yeah, and I can agree with many of the points that Commissioner Wright has brought up. I'll be in favor of the resolution. And some of the notes that I took during the hearing process, many comments were made, well, how do we recall a position, whether it be the auditor treasurer's position or the commissioner as well. And I think the points brought up can apply to both ways. It's an election cycle for both positions, whether you're trying to how should we say, replace a commissioner, or whether you're trying to replace an auditor treasurer. So it's not an immediate response. So another point that I wrote down in my notes was, I don't think there's anything that prevents, shall we say, a township to come forth with a qualified candidate as we do this review process. So that option still exists. It was mentioned several times, you know, to maintain the integrity of the office. I think we can maintain integrity of the office, whether it's an elected or appointed position, and same thing can be said to us commissioners as well. I ask myself, you know, where I land on this, and it's really not that complicated for me. I say one can elect someone through the election process that has no qualifications. But one can appoint someone through this process that does have qualifications. So that justifies, you know, where I am. I want to end my statement as I congratulate Connie and the work and the service she's done for McLeod County. The role has grown a lot, in my opinion, on my short time here. So I appreciate what she's done. I appreciate the hard questions that she has to address almost daily in dealing with commissioners and the public. So I wish Connie the best. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Schmaltz. Commissioner Cheska?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything much more to say than what you guys have already said. I do know that I have the utmost confidence and respect for Connie and her entire department. I've worked with them for 6.5 years, and it's gonna be big shoes to fill. How we do that, we're discussing that today, and I appreciate everybody that came out today, whether you're being paid for this or not, but I appreciate that, because in order to be heard, you have to show up. So thank you guys for all being here. But again, I'm not gonna beat a dead horse with everything that you guys have said. You did a great job, and so that's all I've got.
Thank you. Wishes of the board from what's in front of us today?
Mr. Chair, I need to read item B before.
Go ahead.
When you're ready.
Go ahead and read it.
Thank you. Item 6B, consider adopting proposed McLeod County Resolution 26-CB-14, making the Office of Auditor Treasurer appointed.
We've had a lot of conversation on it, and actually, we've talked about it for a number of years, but at any rate for today, wishes of the board.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I will move Resolution 26-CB-14 as presented.
Motion made by Commissioner Schmalz to approve Resolution 26 CB14. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright. Is there any discussion? Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, my reasons have already been read.
Mr. Chair, I also stated my intentions and reasoning behind it.
Thank you. I as well. I probably are not as polished as some, but I have stated my opinion on the appointed position, so I'll leave it at that. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 26 CB14 has been approved. All right, moving
Mr.
on in
Chair.
our agenda, we have.
Mr. Chair, Mr.
What?
Kachka had inquired, and it may be a good idea to just do a roll call vote, just so the record reflects the.
All right, I have had that discussion with resolutions. I've always preferred that, but, and I'm fine with it. We'll do a roll call on the resolution. Commissioner Chaska,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmalz,
Aye.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger is aye. Resolution passes 4-1. 4-0, I'm sorry. With one position not filled. Anything else, Brian, all right.
Mr. Chair, I would just ask that we have some more quiet in the room before we have another item continued. It's disruptive.
All right, we need to move along with our agenda, so if you have conversations, you could take them out in the hall. Thank you. We'll continue at 7 on the agenda. Auditor Treasurer. Hello again, Connie.
Hi. So we are here also today to present our GIS enhancements to the Commissioner District appearance and the location within the county elections page. Today I have the McLeod County GIS Director, Christy Christensen, here to review the districts on GIS. The boundary view has always existed, well, has been there for many years, I should say, yet has now been enhanced with shading of the districts. So with that, I'll invite Christy up. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just have a very simple presentation for you today. We've been doing a lot of things with GIS and technology that's available to us, and Connie had reached out to me and asked if we could do some improvements to our commissioner district mapping. So we did a review of the boundaries that we have for our areas. Sometimes the data that we get at the Secretary of State is at a scale that's, they do the entire state of Minnesota, so sometimes things aren't as precise. Here at McLeod County, we have all of our section corners monumentation, so we have that nice control. So working with the city of Hunch and their precincts that affect our 3 districts, I just have some printouts here today for us, so I'll just show those and then pass those around, if you will. And so Connie, on her page, through the Commissioner District Mapping, we have a link to our interactive mapping, and that's going to be on the second page. So just by having the 2 different mapping options, that will lead you to this. And the enhancement here is it's a shading of the different areas, and so as you're familiar with our interactive mapping, you can zoom into the certain parcels. The people that may be not as quite familiar with who their commissioners are for their districts, we can do that now through interactive mapping. So that's all I have. Any questions? I'm sorry? Yes. Right now, we're working, we do have our main desktop viewer. It's online and ready. Today, we're working on the cell phone viewer, if that's what you're looking at, so they're both available there.
Mr. Chair?
Excuse me, cell phone what?
We have two different options as technology, and people are using their cell phones these days for a lot of options. We have two different mapping environments
Okay.
because cell phones can't handle the main viewer.
Questions for Christie?
One more way to make our maps great, right? So.
I know, I do have a question that, just because you're up and I'm getting some phone calls on boundaries moving. And how do we, or how are we involved in that? I'm getting a number of calls saying that they have surveyed or looked, and some have lost or gained footage on line fences. How does your office, or how do we as a county, get involved in that? Mostly it's, I know some of them are in court right now, because of the idea that if it's been that way for 15 years or 100 years, that is, even if it's wrong, it's right. I mean, is that something that falls in line with your work, or, I mean, I know we're doing, we've been posting the different, whatever the terminology is for, points of, corners. It escapes me right now, but when we put the post in the ground, that is the true corner. And so how do we react, or how do I as a commissioner react to that question?
That is I do have the answer for it, and I'll do my best to answer that, but I think that would be a great workshop topic.
Okay.
The surveys as it was done in the 1850s, I mean, they came through and their best intent was to do our section breakdowns. They were using horses and chains and transits, and they did a very good job. But as they were measuring 1 miles by 1 mile sections, well, with the mosquitoes that they were swatting and the terrain they had to deal with, of course, they weren't at 5280 exactly. So today we now with our GPS, and we've occupied all of our section corners, and McLeod County is very fortunate that we have 100% of our corners done, that we went out with high accuracy precision GPS, and we've learned that a mile isn't exactly 5280 in terms of sections. So you might have an extra 50 feet or short 50 feet or whatever. And so when we take that proration of breakdown and apply it to that 640 acres for that section, yes, you're gonna have some people that when you say the back 40, those 40 acres or those quarters aren't quarter quarters. They are quarter quarters, but they're not 40 acres. You know, they're gonna be a little bit more, a little bit less. Well, the occupation of those lines is we used to have we have a very good appointed surveyor right now. Jeff Roush was and he explained it to me before he passed away, was your occupation of those lines don't change. You don't, a person doesn't have 40, you can't justify that. So if people are referencing GIS and they're saying, why are our property boundaries changing? It's because people are having surveys done. And that's, the joke is GIS stands for get it surveyed. So when you're trying to figure out what your alignments are, the better documentation we have, the more accurately we can represent our parcels. So as those surveys come in, yes, we are continuing to improve our foundation of our parcel mapping because we have that more accurate information coming to us.
Is that because they're recorded, or?
Yes, absolutely. That's the only way it can get communicated through us is through a recording process. If there's a handshake between neighbors, we don't know about that, so yes.
Well, and in fact, I just had one this last week. Again, another person called me because farms are selling or changing hands, whatever. They're doing surveys, and surveys are coming more gospel, or, you know, they're more accurate. And it's not so much that I don't think that people are losing any acreage, but the lines have moved. And I can only speak for myself. If it's between two private individuals, well, you can take it to court or whatever. And I've seen I was handed some court documents that are not consistent. Some have well, it's been there for 50 years and you didn't do anything about it, so that border that's there stands. Well, that's not gonna be in line with technology. And then I can also speaking for myself, when the government itself, I have some property that's aligned by government property, when they surveyed, I didn't lose anything, but they moved my lines to where I owned the whole township road. Well, good for me, I own the township road. And I kinda jest about that, it's recreational property, so I'm not that concerned, but the issue is still the same. I mean, that can happen here, and I have a couple, three that have got a hold of me about property lines.
And that does happen. If, like I mentioned, you had those old legal descriptions that have been perpetuated since the 1850s. And if you measure from this direction 660, and you measure from this direction 660, but you don't have 1320, there's gonna be overlap or a gap, and then there's gonna become the conversation of who owns that. And so that's where the surveyors will come in and they'll do an occupation. They'll see who has been occupying that line. And, you know, attorneys have different opinions, surveyors have different opinions, and they work it out, and whatever they agreed upon final, who's getting the extra 6 feet or who's losing the 6 feet it's between them, and then it comes back to us as to how do we, so yeah, you're exactly right, the surveying accuracies in the 1850s aren't near what they are today, so.
Do you kind of, and I don't wanna digress, but it's kinda important to me, do you actually then kinda double check them findings? I mean, let's just say, and I record my property and it's different from what I initially thought it was. Do you, and if you don't have a neighbor that bucks it, well, that's what goes into the archives. So, I mean, I don't wanna put you on the spot, but who's right?
That's fine, there, you can do that. So we have an exceptional workflow of conversation that happens from our county recorder through our auditor to our assessor. We all take a look at it. When it comes to me, I do a preliminary map on if it's in question, and I say, something doesn't look right here. And then, because I have that ability of that precision, I can then say, hey, whoever's doing the survey or providing that certificate back to them and then say, are you sure this is right? You know, make sure that, because I don't see something that's correct here. And I'm really appreciative that we have that conversation, otherwise we'd have gaps and overlaps. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen, so.
Last question, because usually the people that I have talked with didn't technically lose any, the line just saying it's a farm. Most of mine's on bigger property that inquire with me, well, okay, they surveyed, this land changed hands, so the line moved, just for conversation, 15 feet into where the neighbor was. Well, in order for the neighbor to pick up his 15 feet on the other side, he has to go through, I mean, it starts a chain reaction, and that's why, I mean, I like the GIS. I mean, it takes a lot, it takes some funding and a lot of work to get it down, but at the end of the day, someday you get caught up. I mean, probably not in my time, but again, it's not so much you're losing, it's who has to pay and who actually has the final word. The courts, once people kind of understand it, they get it. The first initial knee jerk is, well, you took 15 feet. No, not really. You just pushed it out on the other end of your line. It might be a road, it might be the neighbor's property, it might be a lake, you know, I mean, so you don't know.
Yeah, and you know, and to your point is, the three, you know, examples that you mentioned, we probably have 1,000 for every three that are a good transaction, so I mean, we're gonna find issues, and we're in an environment now where we can correct those issues, so.
And I'm supportive of GIS, as you know, and I mean, for a lot of different reasons, but. Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
And Christie, thanks for appearing before us today. Maybe I need some educating on this, but usually when I get a question about lot corners, I reference our pins at our intersections. Is that where, am I correct on that? I mean, and then after that, the survey folks will take their measurements and adjust lot corners. Am I being factually correct on what I'm saying?
For the most part, yes. Our roads are usually centered on our section lines. If we have affected properties, the road will shove over or swamp or some portion of the terrain that doesn't allow for us to put our roads on the section lines. But yes, for the most part, When you have your curves, correction line that's happening, up near your property is there's a shift in the, you come up to a T and you gotta jump over 300 feet to continue on, and that's because of the ellipsoid of the earth, you know, I mean, we have that curvature and you gotta account for a correction at some point, and so our County Road 93, just to the south of you, is that line that runs all the way across our county. And so, yes, there's, the section corners are there, they don't move, they are, period, there. And then, yes, we base all of our property corners off of those. If that answers your question.
Yeah, very much so. When you start talking about the shape of the earth and why things don't line up, now you're getting over my head, where we don't need to go today. So, thanks.
Sure. Mr. Chair, I do have another
Thank you.
question for
Go ahead.
Christie. So typically, I don't like changing the topic a lot when somebody's at the mic, but today I'll do it. It's Ag Week, so this is kind of on a farm safety platform for you. So there is a group throughout the state that's working with counties, the GIS department, and the emergency services like fire departments to map a farm place. Just to see if you've heard of this, where they'll map a farm place so that in the event of a fire or a rescue needs to take place, they know what building has cattle, they know what building is the shop, they know what building has hay storage, they know where the fuel is, they know where the main power source is at. And that doesn't go to public information, that is strictly just goes to your fire rescue emergency services. If you come across that, because I can get that group to present at a workshop someday.
Do you know the name of the group or the name of the program this is under?
Right now, I can't pull it off the top of my head, but I've heard that there are counties, and the corn and soybean producers groups are having a hand in promoting that, just because it is geared towards that farm safety for sure, so.
Okay. So the reason I ask is, as you know, I'm the president of the Minnesota Counties GIS Association. I'm very well connected with all 87 counties of Minnesota. I would like to bring this up for topic of discussion at the next meeting, so yes.
Great. We'll get you connected. So.
Excellent.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next is Building Services. Joe Morgan.
Good morning. One item for your consideration today. Consider approving a quote from Garage Door Store of Waite Park, Minnesota to replace the west door at the Silver Lakes Transportation Services Facility at a cost of $16,960 with funds from Highway Administration Budget 03330. An incident occurred on March 6th, resulting in a total loss of the door. Just kind of a side note on that, we are working for a solution to that we feel will prevent this from occurring in the future. The county will receive an insurance payment of $10,890, and that's the cost of the door replacement minus $5,070, which is 30% depreciation, and our deductible is $1,000.
So it's 5,070 plus the 1,000, so it's 6,000?
Correct.
700, okay. Wishes of the board?
Chair, I'll move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Schmalz. Discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Joe, I don't know if you're the right person to be asking this, but, you know, I wasn't aware of this until I read the board packet that came out on Friday. And then I thought to myself, wow, do we have a door on the west side of the building with the wind event that we all experienced this past weekend? So that's my question is, are we closed up on that side of the building?
Public Works constructed a temporary barrier that is holding up. This door, has two window sections, large window sections that allow really nice natural light into the facility. So those panels are a special order, so we do have a bit of a lead time on them. But at the moment, we are temporarily secured. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any more discussion? You know, obviously something happened with and I hate to use it always, it is what it is. So, I mean, we have a door that needs, we gotta fix the door, so I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty much laid out here. We have the typical insurance, depreciation and deductible, and it looks in order, so, I'll make a motion to approve.
We got the motion.
Oh, we do have it? Okay.
We're in
Sorry,
discussion,
that's
just ready
right.
to call it.
Been a long day already.
It's been a
so
long
my
day,
head-
yeah.
My head's buzzing.
Agreed.
Okay, any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Economic Development, Liz. The only other person today that I see wore green with me, so. No Irish in me, but,
I'm not Irish either.
good morning.
Good morning. I have one item for you today being brought from the Economic Development Committee for your consideration. It's a request to allocate $30,000 to the Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership to assist with its acquisition and rehabilitation of the North Place Apartments in Hutchinson, Minnesota, contingent on the successful closure of the property with funds from the statewide Affordable Housing Aid Fund, SAHA 25-701. Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership, SWMHP, is a nonprofit housing development corporation. The requested funds would fully close a funding gap in the project. SWMHP's acquisition and renovation of the North Place property would preserve 24 units of existing affordable rental housing while leveraging $4.55 million in state, federal, and nonprofit investment into McLeod County. The closing date is expected to be on or before April 30th, 2026. Qualifying projects for the SAHA funds include financial support to nonprofit affordable housing providers in their mission to provide safe, dignified, affordable, and supportive housing. SAHA funds that the county received in 2023 must be committed by the end of 2026 this year and spent by the end of 2027. The Economic Development Committee voted 6-0 at its March 12th meeting to recommend this allocation of funds. And also Leah Petrichka, who's the Real Estate Development Manager for SWMHP, is here to answer any questions that you might have about the project itself.
Yes, come on up. I know we are in need of housing, so I don't quite understand the structure, so you can go ahead.
Sure. I guess we have received funds from Minnesota Housing. We applied back in 2023 and were awarded funds under their housing infrastructure program. It will be a loan to the project. In addition to that, we have a first mortgage coming from Greater Minnesota Housing Fund. Us as the developer, we are putting in a loan of $171,000 to the project. And then because it's affordable housing, you can ask for rebates through your utility and state sales tax on products that were construction materials. So between the rebates and reserves, we have about $57,000. So the ask today is for $30,000. The difference here, what's occurred is this is a rural development project. So the current seller has a loan with the property through rural development or USDA. In that time, they continue to pay their loan. We assume that mortgage and the amount of time it's taken for us to get to the closing table, resulting in some delays from USDA due to this federal shutdown, has created a gap in terms of what the amount of the mortgage we thought we would be assuming back when we first applied for funding in '23 to what it is today. And so that would be closing that gap that's been created. Essentially, by them paying down the mortgage, we're not assuming the same amount, so then the sources brought to the table start to shift.
Okay, I'm gonna start with some basic. First of all, I should back up now. Tell me again your role or who you actually are.
Sure. So I'm Leah Petrichka. I'm with the Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership, and my role there is as the Real Estate Development Manager. I work on the projects in terms of how we finance our acquisitions, or again, if we were to do new construction, how do we put together the capital that allows us to move forward in that actual project.
So you have been summoned, lack of a better word, by this developer or the owner to help with this, or how did you get involved? I mean, the Southwest Partnership, or Was it
Sure.
through our economic development? I mean, I don't,
Sure.
I'm gonna
So-
have to say I'm not new to this, but I'm new to this particular project.
So I'll back up a ways. Because the property originally was financed with USDA rural development called 515, Section 515 mortgage, there's a provision that that seller first must advertise to a nonprofit entity that it's for sale. And so they did that, and we entertained that offer to purchase their property. We started those discussions back in 2021. Again, sought funding through Minnesota Housing twice, so our first application was not successful, our second was. And then it's just taken this long to get to a closing date. As you imagine, there are quite a few processes that both the USDA Rural Development Office has, as well as Minnesota Housing. So I would say in a nutshell, it's a lengthy process to acquire a project that is financed with USDA Rural Development financing.
So who's actually the owner of this property?
So Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership creates a LLC formation, so it is going to be WMHP North Place Apartments LLC, where we are, the Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership, are the 100% member owner of that LLC. So it is in essence an offshoot of ourselves, but we create the LLCs again to create a separate structure for the property, to have its own books, and then again, create some division of the partnership.
And you're accountable to who?
We have a board that governs the overall partnership.
Is that a local board or is that a state board?
It is a mixture of county representatives and different, again, folks, I guess, across the 30 different counties that we cover.
Okay. And I apologize for sounding like I'm grilling you, but with everything that's in the news today, this is not, this is money that's allocated to us, so it's not levy money. I don't like using that word either all the time, but it's not levy money, but we have control of that money. So I'd like to be prudent with that. So I think I've asked my share of questions. Does the board have any questions for her?
I just have one, and that's more of a point of clarification for Leah. You manage multiple other locations, Southwest does, right? Or, who?
Yeah, so I'll clarify the question and not manage. So we own about 60 other properties across Minnesota, covering majority in our 30 county, what we call our sort of footprint. But we have quite a few properties in pretty much every portion of the state with the exception of the northeast corner. We use a third-party property manager. So in this case, it will be Lloyd Management that will be taking over the management of the property upon closing. Right now, it is independently managed, and so again, there would be that transition upon closing.
Questions? Any other?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just
Go
some
ahead.
comments. So as Liz had mentioned, this did get a full approval from our committee. And this is the first time that we're accessing these funds. So this is a little bit of a new road for us to be able to pull dollars out of here. This particular request, what's nice about this one is that we're not in this at the concept level, we're in it on the end. So this is pretty well a surefire investment at this point, because they're very near to their closing date. So again, rather than being at something at ground level, let's see if it works. We're to the point where it's nearly a guarantee. So expending these funds is a wise investment. It's exactly what it's to be used for. And it's my understanding that as this fund balance increases, as dollars come in, we are in kind of a little bit of a use it or lose it situation, if I remember correctly with that one. So, but good use of dollars. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright and seconded by Commissioner Cheska to approve. Is there any more discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I'm looking at this thing a little more simplistic. It looks like an investment in, McLeod County and the infrastructure that we have. So I can vote in favor of the motion as presented. Thank you.
Again, one final question for me is obviously the housing is a benefit to McLeod County. How is this then structured? I mean, is there qualifications? Is it just an income qualification that when you go into it, or is there a broader, I mean, again, we have workforce needs, we have different things, and I'm asking these questions because I'm gonna get them, so.
Sure, no problem. So with the existing financing that the property has through USDA, it already restricts the occupant to have an income level that is at least 80% of area median income. With the financing tools that we're bringing in from Minnesota Housing, it will further restrict the rents. So now residents will be expected to have 60% of area median income or less. And then similarly, our rent, the amount of rent that can be charged also needs to stay within that 60% of area median income provision. And those numbers are calculated or determined by the the Housing and Urban Development. They come out with those new numbers every year. And so again, we adhere to that through the financing structures and the provisions that they put on to the financing that you receive.
All right. Well, thanks to you and the work from Liz and the Economic Development Committee. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
County Administration review of our calendars. Well, I'll just try to we've been in for a while. I'm gonna just, I guess I'll let, do you have anything first, Sheila, or our administrator? Otherwise, I'll go into my calendar
No, I don't yet. Thank you.
if I can find it.
Unless you want me to start going over the,
No, I'm fine.
okay.
Okay, since our last meeting, I've had a North Fork Crow meeting that was kind of cut short because of availability of our board, being of AMC had a conference going on. I had a District 8 Transportation meeting that is actually through mid-Minnesota. I guess the highlight would have been our township meetings on, I believe it's on the 10th. I mean, I kind of like them. People are respectful in my district, and I usually get a lot of input from that. We also had a department head meeting, and on the 13th, I had a Central Minnesota Jobs and Training meeting that was also cut short because of the weather, but spring is on its way, hopefully. Commissioner Wright?
Yep, we'll keep it kind of brief. The first kind of group of meetings to talk about would be those township meetings, and I did have a fifth that day instead of my regular four, as I did go up to Acoma Township with a quick visit up there on the contents of our board packet. Couple takeaways from those meetings. I mean, obviously, it was brought up in question about the contents of our hearing today, and as those issues should be brought up. I would say the biggest issue that was talked about would be all of the road construction work that will be happening in my district with the roundabout construction on the state project of Highway 212 and Highway 15, and the major disruption that's going to mean for traffic. I did have Andrew Engel, our Public Works Director, with me for the afternoon, so he was able to go in depth on some of those plans of MnDOT and cover the risk of the 3 different bridges that are definitely deficient in my district that actually led to some of the decisions of a very complicated detour route. So there's going to be a lot of chaotic traffic down in my corner of the county for sure this year. When we look at the packet that was put together, the Sheriff's Department did put a clip in there about the canine program, and that was actually talked about a bit when people flipped to that, and just the general comments and support from a couple of meetings that people really thought that was a really neat program and how important it was to have that canine. I thought that was kind of neat that conversation just kind of grew on its own in a couple places, that we have such broad support for that addition to our sheriff's department. Last week, we did meet with our Economic Development Committee. The approval of the measure that we just saw was brought up there. And we're also putting the finishing touches on our Economic Development Forum that'll be coming up. We'll be having Ben Winchester come in and talk, and that's on April 7th. And we're talking all about housing, the challenges and the risks and where we can go as a county. And I think that's going to be a great topic. We do have opportunities for growth here, but we really need to wrap our arms around some of the technicals that are involved in making some of those decisions. So that's good enough for me.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright. Since our last meeting on Tuesday the 3rd, we held a workshop here after that meeting. And then I'll go to Thursday the 5th. The first Thursday of the month is Prime West Joint Powers Board, which I attended. Meeting was held in Alexandria. Business as usual. We've heard plenty about Prime West this morning, and I'll leave it at that. And then last week, we had a department head meeting here at the Government Center Tuesday morning, the 10th. And then that afternoon, I attended the Hutchinson Township annual meeting. Hutchinson Township is not part of my district, District 1. But at the same time, I'm grateful that Commissioner Wright took care of Oklahoma Township, and also happy that I could be at the Hutchinson Township to go over our reports. They were very grateful and gracious that they weren't left out of the process. They had a good meeting and appreciated our presence. Not just mine, but Attorney Hanch appeared at the Hutchinson Township meeting as well, and helped with the presentation and fielded questions pertaining to rifle, shotgun, mostly, I think. And one of the topics I think that I took away from that is, you know, when we're looking at these ditch system upgrades, it becomes, people are looking for information. Hutchinson Township is no different. Although not greatly affected, they still do have some culvert work to do on our county ditch systems. And then that evening, I went to the Bergen Township annual meeting, the Winsted Township annual meeting, and the Hale Township annual meeting. Luckily, Hale Township starts a little later in the evening. They do run an election on their annual meeting date, thus letting them start after the voting polls have closed. Again, Bergen Township was pretty quiet and well attended, and Winsted Township had concerns, general concerns about upcoming road projects scheduled in Winsted Township this summer. Hale Township's main concern is our county ditch systems and preparing for some of those culvert crossings that have been called out in the recent repair report and the ASIC record that we looked at a few weeks ago. And on Wednesday the 11th, Pact for Families Joint Powers Board meeting was held in Willmar, Minnesota, which I attended. I'll just say Pact for Families. It's important that we stay engaged as McLeod County because it's only a group of 5 counties. It's McLeod, Meeker, Candy-Ojai, Renville, and Yellow Medicine counties. So they really need our representation there to conduct business. And Pact for Families' emphasis is mental health and bringing those services to the kiddos in school and the families that really do need help mentally to navigate today's difficult times. And then I'll end by saying I've fielded calls regarding our ditches, general questions on road projects, and also still fielding interaction with shotgun and rifle as we looked at it just a few weeks ago. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Tresca?
After the workshop, the last time we met, on that Thursday, I also attended Prime West via Zoom, and it still astonishes me the growth that they had this past year with the shifting of some of that stuff and the amount of money that they go through, as we all saw today. But I feel like
Primos is going in the right direction and hopefully can continue to stay there. On the 6th, I attended via Zoom a personnel policy committee. That was the first one I have been to. That was one of Commissioner Nagel's positions, so I think we just went over some policies and that sort of thing. On the 10th, I also had my townships meetings that day. I had Hassan Valley at 3, Rich Valley at 7, and Sumter at 7, but they very graciously wait for me to get back from Rich Valley on that one. So they all went well. I had fielded a couple questions on the shotgun versus rifle at Sumter, but other than that, Hassan Valley and Rich Valley were pretty good, very accommodating, and it's nice to see them every once in a while. On the 12th, I also attended the EDC meeting. We talked about the upcoming forum in April for the housing. Excited about that to see how we can continue to grow that committee, and as we talked about there, how the county will interact with that. And then on Friday, the 13th, I sat in on a Southwest 18 Advisory Board committee. They meet down in Marshall once a month, and they invite us to sit in and listen to kind of what they're talking about. So that was kind of fun to hear the inner workings. They talk about spreadsheets for reimbursement, and I looked at that spreadsheet and I'm like, holy Hannah. I said to Leah Lundgren, our representative from McLeod County, I said, I don't even know how you do that. Like, how do you know where to put anything? It's got all these tabs on the bottom, and they're like, oh, it's really not that confusing. And I'm like, holy buckets, good luck. But other than that, that has been it. So thank you.
Attorney's office?
I'll be short. I also attended several of the annual township meetings, including stopping by Round Grove, Penn, Hutchinson, Hassan Valley, Acoma, and then ending the evening at Collins. So I enjoyed it. Each meeting's run a little differently, which is okay, kind of, refreshing. And it was nice to meet with those folks and answer a few of their questions. So I think it's great that staff and commissioners from the county make an effort to attend those township meetings, and I certainly do as well. As you all have kind of alluded to, the struggle is there's often overlapping time, and trying to cover the entire county isn't always doable, but I'll keep chipping away in future years. Thank you.
Sheila, you can start, or should we just start with her? Okay.
Item A, consider adopting Resolution 26 CB15, authorizing a temporary ditch loan of $338,700 from the General Revenue Fund to the Ditch Fund to cover negative county and joint ditch fund balances dated December 31st of 2025. The ditch loan interest was set at a 4% at the public hearing on October 7th of 2025.
Now, this money, it's rolled over and used right away, or is it sitting in a fund to be used when it goes to the ditch fund?
It'll go into the ditch fund accounts to cover the negative balance to bring them above zero.
Okay, so the interest that we set will be occurred on that money when it's rolled over?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Smalls. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Are you gonna handle B?
I am. Thank you. Item B, notification of the annual joint county meeting for McLeod, Meeker, Renville, Sibley, and Wright counties on Friday, March 27, 2026 at 10 o'clock a.m. The counties will be discussing the past joint ditch expenses and future joint ditch projects in the Martin McLeod Boardroom, the McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota. Item C, notification of $7,897.50 Federal Emergency Management Agency payment to County Ditch 10 and $57,576.39 FEMA payment to Joint Ditch 8, McLeod Sibley. Thank you for the diligence of our soil and Water Conservation District partners Ryan Freitag and Adam Leske for their documentation, submittal, and award of FEMA. These payments remove landowner obligation for the expenses, which is very beneficial to our drainage systems and alleviates the need for special assessments for those specific expenses.
Excuse me, Sheila, but I just want to put in my thanks too for Ryan and Adam's hard work. And I mean, just staying with FEMA, that's a job in itself. They worked really hard over a long period of time to get this monies allocated to the systems.
Thank you. Item E, notification of High Island Creek Watershed District Board of Managers Drainage Authority for the petition improvement of Sibley, Renville, McLeod, Judicial Ditch 11, laterals H2 and H3. Will hold a public hearing to consider the petition improvement, the preliminary engineer's report, and whether to dismiss the petition or continue with the proceedings on March 20, 2026 at 1:00 p.m. in the basement meeting room, Sibley County Courthouse, 400 Court Avenue, Gaylord, Minnesota. I'm sorry, I need to look up an address. Thank you. Item F, notification of board workshop following the board meeting on Tuesday, April 7, 2026 at the McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota. And Mr. Chair, if I may add, I do see that there's a workshop missing on this. It's not required, but we have the notification, so may I add it?
Sure.
Thank you. On March 31st, the McLeod County Board of Commissioners will have a joint workshop with the City of Hutchinson to discuss joint projects. And that will be at the City Center in Hutchinson, with the City Council being invited along with the McLeod County Board of Commissioners and relevant staff from Public Works and other departments. That will be located at 111 Hassan Street Southeast, Hutchinson, Minnesota, in their, the same place where they hold their council meetings. So please add that to your notes, and there will be notification on our website and other necessary places. And that's at 3 p.m.? It is at, yes, thank you, it's at D.
You
Did I
missed
skip
E.
it?
Yep.
E.
You missed E.
Oh, I did miss E, so I'll go back to that. D. Okay, I'll go back to that, but yes, Commissioner Trutchko noted 3:00 p.m., so that is at 3:00 p.m. on March 31st, which is a Tuesday, at the Hutchinson City Center at 111 Hassan Street Southeast in Hutchinson, Minnesota. That is a workshop. There will be no action taken. It's to discuss joint projects that concern the city of Hutchinson and the county board, mainly with Public Works, with road projects. And I missed item D, so I will go back to that. Notification of Renville Sibley McLeod Joint Drainage Authority public hearing on the petition of Redens for removal of benefits on Judicial Ditch 15. The Drainage Authority will hear public comment regarding the removal of benefits in the Commissioner's Room of the Renville County Government Services Center at 105 South 5th Street, Olivia, Minnesota, on Tuesday, April 14, 2026 at 11:00 a.m. or thereafter as the agenda allows. And that is it for me.
Just to comment on those, on D and E, Judicial Ditch 15 is Buffalo Creek, just so people are aware that, I mean, I cannot make, I can't make the High Island one, and I actually asked our administrator to put this on your calendar, and it's not mandatory by any means, but it is something to be aware of the different things that are going through in drainage. And I am somewhat curious to know, and Commissioner Wright, you may know what that removal of benefits is on 15. I am not quite sure. And I guess all I'm asking for is that we don't ignore them, or I would like to get to the other one. They're both important meetings, but Can't be everywhere. Okay, open forum. Oh, one other thing is I'm having our administration work on a workshop with Glencoe as well to kind of start a working relationship, with Glencoe as well.
They have indicated some dates that they are available. They responded, so we're
Okay,
working
good.
on a date with them, and we should have that notification at the next. And then we always annually typically hold a meeting in Winstead as well, so that helps us go to the other cities. Thank you.
Open forum, anyone else wishing to address the board? Come forward, state your name.
Donald Albrecht from Penn Township. I have a question about the funding that you approved for the economic development group for that housing and so forth. Is that housing open to anyone in the state of Minnesota, or does McLeod County get first dibs on our population using that housing?
Mr. Chair, if I may note,
Go ahead.
we are not responsible for the housing project. We won't own it.
So we have no idea how they are going to apportion the people that'll be living in that housing.
There's not expected to be a tenant overturn that will happen upon ownership
Right,
changing.
so that,
It's already filled. The
But
people
to-
that live there are expected to live there, but the vacancy requirements are up to the owner, and that would be Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership, so you would have to get in touch with them.
okay, well, I'm just,
And I asked the same questions, and I was hinting at him when she was here on what the requirements are. They are already basically full, and they don't look at a tenant change, but to your point, it's a nonprofit, so I'm sure it'll be open to anyone in the state.
okay. And the other question that I would have for the board is there any way that the county is going to be on the hook down the road if this nonprofit decides not to make full payments as required and they go into default?
From what I understand, Mr. Albright, is that this money is allocated out of a fund that's not connected or that the county holds any obligations to. I stand to be corrected, but that's some of the points that I was looking at. I don't see any connection or any liability
Chair.
to the county. Go ahead.
There's no ownership for the county in the building. This is a one-time payment, which they can only use to complete that project, or it would go back to the county as stated, and the county has no ownership in the building whatsoever.
I was just wondering
Yeah.
if they went into default and back and forth,
Right.
whether the county or city of
It's
Hutch
not
would
like
wind
our
up on this.
HRA. I mean, there's obviously need for housing, and
Yeah,
again, not that you have to take my word for it, but I looked at it as good as I could, and our economic development board and everything. I mean, it's not county levy money. It's allocated money from a fund that's there. It's not used. It should have, long-term, it should have a benefit to the county. I mean, it's so hard. I don't want to go off into anything, but low-income housing or housing in general is a real plus for McLeod County. I broke my rules of realizing that we're in open forum, but
thank you.
anyone else wishing to address the board?
Sometimes, Tom Dahl, sometimes I'm glad you break your rules. I just want to say special thanks to Commissioners Schmaltz and Wright for attending the meetings, covering that. I realize the stress and the extra time and effort that you people are putting in. I sat down and did a slight review the other day. There's 18 open board and 18 positions open that you expect District 5 to be filled by. okay? Different committees and boards, 18, okay? Now, they're not all duplicated because some of them are alternates and such, but it's a lot. I don't think people realize how much there is, so thank you very much for doing that and for covering for District 5, appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you to the board members that did go out and represent the county. Yeah, I have to apologize a little too. I didn't sleep much last night. I mean, some of these things are important, and so many people have the perception that we just have an agenda that we're going with. That's not in my case, that's not the case, and I don't believe it is for the rest of our board. Anyone else wishing to address the board? You need,
I hope that, I'm just gonna say thank you, but I want the thank you to get down to the people that were actually driving the vehicles and moving the snow. And those people that were staying overnight in our shops to be ready for any emergency. It was greatly appreciated, heard nothing negative whatsoever, all compliments. So, much appreciated.
and I
Thanks
took
for
it as such.
Thank you. Andrew Engel and Sheriff Lingenfeld did an excellent job arranging everything, making sure that updates are out there. And their shop staff actually volunteered the idea of making sure they were available for emergency response. That's really admirable that they came up with the idea to make sure that they could provide coverage, so thank you.
I'm glad that weathermen missed their mark a little bit, and Mother Nature still gave us quite a break from what could have happened, so.
That's right, that's right.
Mr. Doyle, state your name, please, again.
Doyle Benson from Collins. I was not actually in the room during the time of the presentation of the elections website edition, so I am assuming that came from some of my comments, and I thank you for that. I will check into it. I didn't get to check it into it yet, but thank you. It might help clear up some of the confusion that seems to, it's just not real clear. It wasn't real clear in the city of Hutchinson where the boundaries were. Thank you.
Thank you. Press relations, anything from the press? Thank you. The next board meeting will be at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, April 7th, 2026, here at the McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue North in Glencoe, Minnesota. I'll take a motion to recess until that time.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright, and seconded by Commissioner Schmalz. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are in recess.